Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening, seconds. Seeing Kaguya shocked back to her usual self, Hayasaka sighed. Face reality, Kaguya-sama. You better explain your lewd behavior to President tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow's Friday, so I'll be going to Rinji's house. You're on your own from here. How am I supposed to face the President tomorrow? That's your problem. With that, Hayasaka left the room, ignoring the stunned Kaguya. Click. Closing the door, Hayasaka blushed and held her lips. That kiss from Rinji had hit her hard. She still hadn't recovered. I guess. It was a success. I'll have to face Rinji differently from now on. But it's okay. He's changed too. She looked out at the moonlight through the window, recalling his expression that moment. Rinji. What is he doing now? At the same time, in Rinji's home. Forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it, forget it. Wrapped up like a ball in his blanket, Rinji rolled around his bed, trying to shake off the embarrassment of his earlier actions. For Rinji, Shirogane, Hayasaka, and Kaguya, this was destined to be a sleepless night. Chapter 421. The next day, even after the Hashin festival ended, students still had to attend school the next day. Though finals were over and there weren't many classes, it wasn't vacation yet. Students still had to show up. Especially the student council. Even without lessons, their work continued. It was a rainy day, and most of the student council had arrived at the office. You're all here already? Rinji walked into the student council room and saw that, aside from Ino, everyone was present. Someone's missing. Looking closer, Rinji noticed only Ishigami, Shirogane, and Fujiwara were in the room. Along with a mysteriously cute creature cradled in Fujiwara's arms. Shinomiya and Ino didn't come? Ino's out on patrol. Shirogane said. As for Shinomiya, Kaguya's right here. Fujiwara lifted the cute creature in her arms and held it up to Rinji. A chibi-style, 2-head-tall version of Kaguya. Judging from her clothes and hair, it was definitely her. The soft aura she emitted just reinforced the chibi illusion. What kind of bizarre situation is this? Well, she showed up this morning already like this. Shirogane explained. He'd been planning to ask her about last night, but when she arrived, this chibi version was what he got. You couldn't really blame her. After reflecting on her reckless actions and feeling deep embarrassment, she had no idea how to face Shirogane. The overwhelming mental pressure caused her to revert to this state. In other words, this chibi Kaguya was a rare version triggered by an IQ crash. Rinji frowned at the drastically different-looking Kaguya in front of him. Shinomiya, have you lost your mind? Showing up like this? Chibi Kaguya turned her head toward Rinji, wriggled out of Fujiwara's arms, and walked over to tug his sleeve. In a tiny, sweet voice, she said, "Good morning, Rinji-kun." Rinji. He looked up at everyone. She's kind of cute. Let's keep her like this. Even you're saying that. Shirogane covered his face in despair. Although he also thought the currently adorable chibi Kaguya was pretty cute, he was more eager to ask about what had happened yesterday. Right now, chibi Kaguya's brain capacity was probably about the size of an orange. Forget asking about yesterday. Holding a normal conversation was already impossible. Just like how an adult can't communicate with a baby, Shirogane had no way to talk to the now suddenly mentally challenged Kaguya. Speaking of which, Rinji, you looked completely dejected yesterday. Are you okay now? Thanks for the concern. I'm fine now. Rinji rubbed the back of his head and smiled. Even though it's still incredibly embarrassing when I think about it, it's something I must face. Facing my true feelings is what matters most. I shouldn't run away anymore. Looks like you really are okay. Right, President, I came here today because there's something I wanted to discuss with you. What is it? For the next few days, until the break starts, Rinji said, I might not be showing up at school every day. Huh? Something going on? Yeah, I found someone I've been searching for this whole time. I'll need to take care of some things involving them, so I might not be at school regularly. I'll also need to take a leave of absence from student council duties. Alright. Your matters are more important. Better to prioritize your own business. Shirogane agreed to Rinji's leave. Besides, there wasn't much left for the student council to do before the break. The rest could be handled by the others. But on second thought, only 2 people in the student council could really do any work. Ishigami and Shirogane himself. Ino had her disciplinary committee duties, and Fujiwara was already doing well just by not causing chaos. As for Kaguya, she was pretty much a lost cause now. As long as she ate and drank properly, expecting her to work was pointless. And there's something else. Next semester, I might only be in class for about a month. Huh? Why? I'm heading back home for the new year at the end of January, probably won't be back until March. Rinji said. It's kind of a tradition in my hometown. I hope you can understand, President. Well. Ishigami chimed in, Rinji, you really do take a leave of absence every semester, huh? Actually, I was originally planning to tell this to Shinomiya. It's just that. Rinji glanced down at the adorable chibi Kaguya, who had been distracted by a butterfly that flew into the office, and sighed. There's no point in telling her now. What were you planning to say to Shinomiya? It's not a big deal. I can wait until her IQ returns to normal. Rinji had planned to tell her he wanted to take Karura and Hayasaka home with him next semester, and that Kaguya would be without someone to care for her during that month. But thinking about it more carefully, things between Kaguya and Shirogane were pretty much set already. There wasn't much he or Hayasaka needed to worry about anymore. Anyway, that's how it is. I have something to do, so I'll head out for now. If there's any task that absolutely needs me, just send me a message, President. I'll come to school if I can. Oh. Okay. Rinji didn't linger. After saying his piece, he left the student council office. Was it just my imagination? Fujiwara curiously watched the direction Rinji had left. I feel like Rinji-kun has changed somehow. But I can't put my finger on it. It's probably his eyes. Ishigami turned and looked at Shirogane. President, do you know what happened? No. About that. Of course Shirogane knew what happened. Rinji had told him everything yesterday. What do you mean girlfriend plus one? Do you think this is Steam and you're buying games? There was no way he could say that in front of the student council. Unlike the light drizzle in Minato Ward, Shibuya was getting poured on. Putting his dripping umbrella aside, Rinji stood in front of the door to a cheap rental apartment labeled Amano. Though he really wanted to go find Hayasaka today, Rinji believed this was the matter that needed to be handled first. Taking a deep breath, Rinji lightly knocked on the door. Note, decided to continue this cause this shit's too addicting. Other than some questionable gay context cross-dressing shit and unnecessary glazing, well I kinda understand because I think the author is female. The fic is overall all addicting and the more I read and translate it, the more I wanna keep going till I finish it. But beware as I'm not translating this under the context of obligation but more like if I feel like reading and translating it. So the updates are maybe slow or fast, depends if I got bored translating my other projects, which I'm fully invested in. So yeah, don't expect me to post 30 to 50 chapter every 2 to 4 days like before. Chapter 422, the second mental courtroom. How's Shinomiya doing? She's more or less resting. Shirogane looked at Kaguya lying on the couch covered with a blanket. She seemed to be having a nightmare. Her brows were tightly furrowed, and the aura she emitted no longer matched her usual chibiya-like cuteness. It was a good thing the art style was returning to normal. Watching her sleep soundly on the couch, Shirogane made up his mind. When she woke up, he would definitely ask her about that kiss yesterday. What he didn't know was that Kaguya was currently in the middle of an internal struggle because of that very incident. Inside Kaguya's mind, it was the same courtroom as before. On the judge's bench sat young Kaguya. In the prosecutors and defense seats were Ice Kaguya with long straight black hair and a cold face, and Kaguya with her hair tied back and an exasperated expression. In the defendant's seat stood Chibi Kaguya. Given the defendant's plan to flee overseas and her forceful kiss on the president, I recommend immediate execution. Ice Kaguya said coldly. Kaguya. No objections. Chibi Kaguya. Why are you agreeing to? Of course. Because kissing him out of nowhere like that is just shameless. Kaguya shouted. Why on earth did I even do that? Chibi Kaguya smiled brightly. What's the problem? The president showed his feelings with all those balloons. I just went along with it. Kaguya blushed. Well, I guess that's true. Ice Kaguya, in any case, let's all calm down. Kaguya, why yeah, you're right. Ice Kaguya, let's calm down and find a time machine, then go back a day and eliminate that brain-fried version of ourselves. You're the one who needs to calm down. Bang. 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 The judge, Young Kaguya knocked on the table and said, "Let's move to the first topic. What exactly is our relationship with the president?" "Obviously lovers." Chibi Kaguya blurted out. "We've already kissed." "Kaguya, she's not wrong." Ice Kaguya, "Don't be stupid. If a kiss makes you lovers, then aren't all the women at those brothels lovers too?" "Kaguya, I'd love to yell at you for comparing yourself to that, but..." "Fair point. In the end, we're contractualists." Ice Kaguya said calmly. "Unless we clearly define it with words, that relationship doesn't count." "That's true." First topic settled, their relationship with Shirogane was more than friends, but not yet lovers. "Now let's move to the second topic," said young Kaguya, knocking on the table. "About going overseas." Chibi Kaguya, "Of course we're going." The president pleaded so sincerely. She looked cheerful as ever, maybe because this personality was too simple to be scheming. Hearing that, Kaguya smiled and nodded. "You're right. Though the time is tight, as long as we prepare the materials and pass the language tests, we can enter the same year as the president." "Exactly." Chibi Kaguya grinned. "The president begged us so much, we have to go abroad." You two aren't oversimplifying this?" Ice Kaguya coldly eyed the others. He said that in the heat of the moment. "Do you really think her family will just let us do whatever we want?" Her words brought a brief silence. "How do you plan to explain this to father?" Chibi Kaguya, "If we plead sincerely, he might." "Are you stupid? You don't seriously think that man has even a shred of humanity left, do you?" Ice Kaguya said flatly. "We should be grateful we're allowed to live away from him. Waking the sleeping lion is not a wise move. Studying abroad needs a longer-term plan. We should gather more bargaining chips in the meantime." She paused, eyes narrowing, and muttered to herself, "No. We already have the chip." Chibi Kaguya, "Huh? Kaguya, you don't mean Takuman Rinji?" Ice Kaguya spoke slowly, a cruel smile playing at her lips. "With him around, the main family wouldn't dare make a sound. That guy's even more ruthless than father. To the main family, seeing him is like seeing the Grim Reaper. If he negotiates on our behalf..." Kaguya hesitated. "You want Rinji-kun to handle that?" "Absolutely not." Chibi Kaguya shouted. "Rinji-kun finally became such a gentle guy in the student council. You want to make him do that again?" "Why not? He said he'd provide us after-sales service if we got together with the president." Ice Kaguya retorted. "And isn't that how the Shinomiya family works? Using others? You're too cruel." "Exactly. Besides, is Rinji-kun really the kind of person who'd let himself be used?" Kaguya looked down. "Also, if we use him, Hayasaka will definitely be angry. We're all the same person, so let's drop the act." Ice Kaguya tucked her hair behind her ear, still smiling faintly. "Cruel, ruthless, and willing to do anything to achieve his goals. That's the real Rinji," she said. "That unapologetic, unfiltered self of his. That's a version of him we truly admire. We understand him best." Just as Ice Kaguya said, Kaguya knew Rinji very well. From their first meeting 4 years ago, to the attack on the Shinomiya main family, to their time in the student council. Despite all the clashes and bickering, she knew him inside out. Though he'd done plenty of foolish things, to her, that only showed how pure he was. Someone without a social mask is easy to understand when surrounded by those who always wear one. "The only difference between me and you is, you think his ruthlessness is terrifying and want him to stay like he is now." Ice Kaguya smiled at the two others. "But I'm not like that. I absolutely adore the Rinji who once crushed the Shinomiya family." Chapter 423, Ice Kaguya. "It suddenly occurred to me that recently, Little Ice seems to really like speaking up for Rinji-kun," said Chibi Kaguya with a pout. "I mean, Rinji-kun is pretty great now too, so why does she always admire the past him?" "Because only a villain can stand against another villain," Ice Kaguya replied. "There's no doubt that Takuman Rinji is currently the only one who can help us. If we want to develop a deeper relationship with the president, his existence is indispensable." After a pause, Ice Kaguya continued. "And the person I admire isn't just the past Takuman Rinji, but him at any point in time. Even if his life in the student council has changed quite a bit, his essence remains the same." 4 years ago, under intense pressure from the family, Kaguya developed the Ice Kaguya personality. Ice Kaguya was the dominant personality up until she was 16. It wasn't until she met Shirogane that the love-struck, idiotic Kaguya emerged, and the two merged into the awkwardly tsundere Kaguya. As the once dominant personality, Ice Kaguya personally witnessed how Rinji charged into the Shinomiya main household and left with swagger. She felt both fear and exhilaration at his actions. Because he was the only person she recognized as capable of opposing the Shinomiya family. A madman who acted entirely on instinct and didn't care about consequences. To break free from the chains the Shinomiya family had placed on her, the best method was to rely on that madman. Back then, even Kaguya imagined that if she had Renji's power, perhaps she could break free from the Shinomiya family and determine her own life. Of course, she knew that was impossible. Even if she could replicate Renji's power, she could never replicate his mindset. She clearly understood that she was just a coward. A coward who had closed off her heart and worn a mask of personality to protect herself from the Shinomiya family's constant pressure. Even with power and wealth enough to challenge the family, she lacked the absolute confidence to rebel. To me, Takuman Renji is like drifting clouds in the sky. Ice Kaguya murmured. Because I envy him, I can only gaze up at him. Kaguya sighed. Honestly, I don't understand where Renji-kun gets that arrogance that borders on narcissism. Young Kaguya tapped the table with a wooden mallet. Alright, let's move on. That wraps up the second topic, right? The second topic, whether or not to go to America with the president. Answer, go. Now for the next issue. About that special kiss. Young Kaguya said. About that. Kaguya blushed as she spoke, then grabbed her head and shouted, why the hell did that happen? Why did I do something like that? Kissing him is one thing, but I even used my tongue? What will the president think of us now? Chibi Kaguya, isn't that pretty normal? In what world is that normal? What's the problem? Chibi Kaguya said with a carefree smile. The president went all out with fireworks and balloons. It's understandable that you got swept up in the mood. Well, when you put it that way. Kaguya, the one caught between Ice Kaguya and Chibi Kaguya, clearly embodied the phrase swayed by the wind. No matter who spoke. Chibi or Ice. She always thought they made sense. That's why I've always thought your actions were foolish. Ice Kaguya said coldly. In my opinion, you should never have initiated that kiss. Huh? Why not? Isn't it the man's job to make the first move? Ice Kaguya said. Her words were immediately met with criticism from the other two. Who says the guy has to be the one to initiate? That's racist. Little Ice, times have changed. The two personalities went back and forth, leaving Ice Kaguya visibly annoyed. Chibi Kaguya wore a love-struck look. What could be more romantic than kissing someone you like in the heat of the moment? Kaguya agreed. Yeah. Ice Kaguya, that's exactly what you don't understand. I prefer being kissed rather than initiating it. Huh? Ice Kaguya looked away, annoyed. Because I think it's more heart-flattering. The three personalities reflected different aspects of herself. With such differing personalities, it was no surprise their preferences clashed. Ice Kaguya was clearly no longer on the same wavelength as the other two. To think we'd be the ones initiating kisses like animals. We should have more self-control. What's wrong with wanting to kiss someone you like? Yeah, if you really like them, how could you hold back? Little Ice, you're just saying that because you don't like the president. That last sentence made Ice Kaguya's eyes widen. She looked at the other two, and the pressure from her aura made them uneasy. You're saying, I don't like the president. Her face was twisted in anger. You fools. I'm the one who's most seriously thinking about the future between me and the president. You're just a bunch of idiots led around by your own emotions, completely oblivious to your surroundings and lost in your own little world. Young Kaguya. Wait, are we really arguing with ourselves? Newcomers should shut up. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. With that, Ice Kaguya grabbed the mallet from young Kaguya's hands and smashed it over Chibi Kaguya's head. Chibi Kaguya instantly fainted. In the courtroom of Kaguya's mind, once a personality was knocked out, the dominant role shifted. Young Kaguya. We're screwed. Chapter 424, My Redemption. Knock knock knock. Who is it? It's me. Renji said. We met yesterday. At the sound of Renji's voice, soft footsteps came from within, and the door opened. Amano Hina peeked out, looking at Renji standing outside. It's you, Renji. Yeah. I followed the address you gave me. Come in. Sorry to intrude. Renji stepped into the room. The place Hina lived in was about the same as where Shirogane used to live. Very small and cramped. Still, despite its size, it had everything necessary and was kept neat and tidy. As Renji sat at the dining table and glanced around at the room's layout, Hina brought him a glass of juice and set it before him. You really startled me. I didn't expect you to come looking for me just one day later. If I scared you, I apologize. No, I was just saying. I was just surprised, that's all. Hina had already sensed it when they met yesterday. Renji seemed to carry a strong sense of guilt toward her, to the point that he spoke very carefully. According to him, her father and he were friends. Though Hina found it odd that her father's friend was only a year older than her, the feeling Renji gave off was genuine. She didn't suspect him of being a scammer or anything. A rich boy from Shuchin Academy didn't really have a reason to deceive a poor girl like her. Where's your little brother? Nagi? He's still at school. I see. Then have you already started summer break? Summer break? Hina paused, then smiled. You mean school? I don't go anymore. I'm the eldest in my family, so when our mother fell gravely ill, I had to start working. School just wasn't an option. It's really come to that. Rinji clenched his fist. Because he had left Japan back then, the Amano family had suffered so much. Thud. Hina lightly tapped Rinji's head with a notebook, snapping him out of his guilt. I told you, stop making that face. Hina smiled. This isn't your fault. You don't have to carry all this pressure alone. I could have prevented this. Rinji said in a low voice. After learning about Hina and Nagi's situation, Rinji couldn't forgive his past self for running away. Calming himself a bit, Rinji asked, Hina, after your mother passed, have you and Nagi been living alone? Yeah. Didn't any relatives offer to take you in? Hina's expression turned somber. You know how it is. Adding a child to the family means an extra burden. Even if we had relatives, they didn't want the added expense. Some did offer to adopt us, but only one of us. That would have meant separating me and Nagi. So you turned them all down? Exactly. Life's tough, but staying together with Nagi matters more. She smiled brightly. It was worse than tough. Her situation was worse than Shirogane back then. The Shirogane family was also poor, but at least there were 3 people working to make ends meet. It was tough, but they got by. But Hina wasn't like that. Her brother Nagi was still in elementary school, and she was the only one working. A middle school girl finding legal work in Tokyo was nearly impossible. The jobs she could get were under the table, like when she faked her age to work at McDonald's. She had been found out and fired. If she hadn't run into Rinji during the Hoshin festival, she might have ended up working in a hostess club just to survive. Someone from such a place had indeed approached her before. Who knows if they even realized the cute girl they were recruiting wasn't even old enough for high school. All in all, Hina was extremely grateful to Rinji for lending her a helping hand. Actually, this time I came because it concerns your future. Rinji said. I hope you and Nagi can come live with me in the Minato ward. Huh? Your current life is just too exhausting. I can't stand by and let this continue. Rinji looked at the surprised Hina. Of course, it's just a suggestion. If you really want to stay here, I can still help you in other ways. Don't worry about money. There'll be regular living expenses transferred to your account. But I suggested moving to Minato because I go to school at Shuchin, and it'd be easier for me to look after you two. Well, this is a pretty big deal. Hina said hesitantly. I need to talk it over with Nagi when he gets home. No problem. Whatever you decide, I'll support it. Rinji smiled. It's almost time for school to end. Let's go pick him up. Okay. Feeling warmed by Rinji's sincerity, Hina nodded. Then, with a slight blush, she looked at him. Thank you so much for helping us. I feel like we're burdening you a lot. Not at all. For me, not being able to help you would be the real burden. Rinji spoke with a tinge of sadness in his eyes. When I returned to Japan a few months ago, I remembered that Uncle Amano passed away on this land. I really wanted to ask him back then why he couldn't trust me a little more. And also, did he resent me for hiding my identity? Rinji cradled his cup as he spoke. Hina quietly listened beside him. Of course, as you know, he's no longer here. I can't ask him those questions. So I could only decide for myself. That I would never let his family suffer again. Rinji looked into Hina's eyes. This is my redemption. Chapter 425, You're really okay with this? See you tomorrow, Nagi. At the gates of an elementary school, a boy with an umbrella smiled and waved goodbye to a girl being picked up by her parents. Then he walked toward the gate alone. He knew his parents wouldn't come pick him up. But today, his sister would be there waiting. Nagi. On-chan. Hearing her voice, Amano Nagi ran forward and saw his sister's familiar face. Along with someone else. Who was the blonde guy standing next to her? Next to Hina stood Rinji, the two of them sharing an umbrella in the rain. Rinji had come with Hina that afternoon to pick Nagi up. The elementary school was quite far from where they lived, but he finally got to see what Nagi looked like. A fairly handsome little guy. So you're Amano Nagi? Rinji looked down with a gentle smile. Yes. May I ask who you are? Let me introduce myself. I'm Takaman Rinji. Nagi nodded and glanced between him and his sister. He figured his sister must have told this guy his name. They were sharing an umbrella, and came to pick him up together. There was only one possible conclusion. Did Sis get a boyfriend? Nagi guessed silently. It's still a bit early for dinner. Not noticing the suspicion in Nagi's eyes, Rinji checked his phone. Let's pick up some groceries on the way back. I'll cook dinner tonight. Huh? Won't that be too much trouble? Not at all. Rinji smiled. Come on, Nagi. Let's go home. Okay. Though he agreed, Nagi kept his eyes on Rinji's face. Looking closer. He's cute enough to be a girl. But why blonde? Dyed hair? A delinquent, maybe? In Nagi's mind, dyed hair automatically equaled delinquent. He wouldn't mind his sister having a boyfriend, but if that guy was a delinquent, that was another story. Dakuman-senpai. Just call me Rinji, like your sister does. Rinji turned and smiled. What is it? What's your relationship with my sister? Relationship? Let me think. Rinji paused, then answered, you could say we're family. Straight to marriage? Nagi looked at his sister in disbelief and saw no signs of shock. Did she just accept it? But if I had to define it? Rinji continued, snapping his fingers, I guess you could call me your dad. Nagi froze, sweating, and turned to his sister. Sis. You're really okay with this? What are you even saying? Hina shouted, blushing furiously. Rinji is Dad's friend. He's just here to take care of us. Huh? Dad's friend? Nagi didn't have many memories of their father, but judging by Rinji's age, he and Hina seemed more like peers. How could he be Dad's friend? Back home after grocery shopping, Nagi finally understood after Hina's long explanation. He hadn't expected one of their father's friends to find them and offer help. So that's the story. Rinji used to live overseas, and only recently returned to Japan. That's why he only found us now. Just the fact he found us is amazing. In Japan, minors are required to live under a guardian's care. Hina and Nagi were orphans. Technically, they should have been taken in by relatives or assigned guardians through official agencies. But to avoid being separated, the siblings never contacted any welfare organizations. So the government had no record of them. This was the main reason why Rinji had spent nearly a year looking for them in vain. After confirming that Rinji wasn't her boyfriend, Nagi rested his chin on the table and looked toward the kitchen, where Rinji was wearing an apron and cooking. Seeing that, he crossed delinquent off the list. Rich, good-looking, and knows how to cook. Kind of perfect? What are you muttering about, Nagi? I'm asking if you really know much about Rinji? I've heard some stuff from a friend I met while working part-time. Shirogane. Hina recalled. He's from a rich family, goes to Shuchin Academy, and works as the treasurer of the student council under X's older brother. Apparently, he's helped their family out a lot. Whoa. Shuchin? That super elite school? There's something else I wanted to talk to you about. Hina spoke seriously. Rinji suggested we move to Minato Ward and live with him. Huh? Rinji didn't want to pressure you. He knows transferring schools and leaving your friends behind would be hard, so he asked me to talk it over with you. This is. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Rinji was busy cooking. The noise from the stove hood made it hard to hear the siblings' conversation. But the ringtone from his phone in his pocket was still audible. Hello? Rinji. We've got a problem. It was Shirogane's voice. President? I'm cooking right now, but go ahead. I'm listening. It's Shinomiya. Something's off about her today. What do you mean? She seemed cold and distant after school. I can't really explain over the phone. Are you home right now? I'm not. Rinji played the dishes while still on the call. Don't worry, President. After last night, Shinomiya's mindset just shifted a bit. She'll be fine soon. Really? Of course. Totally normal. That was a lie. The words totally normal came out of Rinji's mouth without thinking. Right now, his mind was entirely focused on the Amano siblings. He had no room for anything else. Chapter 426, I'll take responsibility. Rinji made an absolutely lavish dinner. The siblings enjoyed every bite. Although there weren't any extravagant ingredients, the quality was far beyond what they were used to. And with Rinji's excellent cooking skills, the meal was an absolute treat. Rinji-kun, you're amazing at cooking. Did you learn formally? Sort of. I picked it up from my old man back in the day. Enough to get by. Rinji said as he started cleaning up. Hina probably already told you a bit about me. Yeah. She said you want us to move to Minato with you. That's right. I can't feel at ease leaving you two alone here. But I also know you must have a lot of friends at school. Asking you to leave them is a big deal, and that's why the choice is yours. Just like you said, I've got a lot of friends at school. Leaving would be tough. Nagi let out a bitter smile. But I also don't want to see An-chan continue suffering like this. If we can live better in Minato, I don't mind going there. It's just that I'll need time to get used to living there. Both Hina and Nagi were far more mature than kids their age. Probably a result of the pressure life had forced on them. You really don't need to feel pressured, said Rinji, taking out his phone and opening a map. If you want to keep living here, that's totally fine. After all, it's still Tokyo. Only a matter of subway distance. I just worry about you walking alone as a grade schooler. He pointed to a spot on the map. There are 3 houses for sale right next to your elementary school. I've already bought one. You guys can move in there. You can just buy a house like that? Thinking it through, Nagi realized this high schooler who was close to his sister's age was a student at Shuchen. Of course he must be rich. But still, to buy a home in Tokyo as a student? Really, don't stress about it. I'm not here to force you into a life you don't want. I came here to take care of you too. If you're set on staying here, I'll consider moving over instead. You really don't need to go that far for us. After years of hardship, suddenly things felt like they were turning around today. After finishing the dishes and hanging up his apron, Rinji checked the time. It's getting late. No need to decide right away. I'll be coming back over the next few days. Think it over and let me know. He opened the door, preparing to leave for his own place. I'll walk you out, said Hina, hurrying over to his side and slipping on her shoes. Night fell, and the rain still hadn't stopped. It had been raining since morning with no signs of stopping, grounding many flights in Tokyo. Rinji and Hina walked side by side under an umbrella, the sound of raindrops tapping the fabric. Rinji, thank you for today. Don't say that. I only did what I was supposed to do. Rinji smiled. In fact, I should be thanking you. If I hadn't found you, I don't know how much longer I would have lived in guilt. Still, thank you. Even if it's because of Dad, your help is real. Once crushed by the pressure of surviving alone, Hina's life changed the moment Rinji arrived. As someone who had to start working young to support her brother, she had experienced Tokyo's cold indifference firsthand. At her age, she never should have had to bear such cruelty. Rinji was the first person who ever made her feel genuinely cared for. By the way, your ability. You don't use it anymore, do you? Yeah. Ever since you told me to stop, I haven't, said Hina. Though. Sometimes I still feel a little unwilling. What do you mean? I got this power a year ago, right after Mom passed away. The ability to clear the sky. I thought if I could use it to help people, that would be something really beautiful. I see. Rinji looked ahead. She was so kind. Completely unlike him. If he had gotten such a power, his first thought would have been to militarize it. Turn it into a weapon. There were times I'd see kids who wanted to go play, or elderly people wanting fresh air, all stuck inside because of the rain. And I just couldn't help but wish to make the sky clear. She smiled softly. I know it's childish. And using the power would probably just cause trouble for you. So. I thought I'd stop. Hina. Rinji, who had been silent, finally spoke and gently placed a hand on her head. I take back what I said before. Huh? I don't know where your ability came from, but if you want to use it, then use it. Rinji said. Telling you not to use it is the same as putting you in a cage. But you said. Back then I hadn't really figured things out. Rinji smiled. I was thinking, what if I lose you too? In the end, that was just me running away. I thought pretending to be a normal person would help avoid trouble. But. It's unnecessary. He turned to face her, speaking earnestly. Whatever you choose to do, I'll support you. And if one day things go wrong, I'll take responsibility. Chapter 427, How to Deepen the Relationship. Rinji, these are the past year's weather data for Tokyo. Everything you said was right. There were weird clearings in the clouds. But since they didn't last long, Japan's officials didn't pay attention. Thanks, Uncle Shuk. Inside a high-end apartment in Minato Ward, Rinji sat at his desk browsing satellite cloud images on his computer. He sipped coffee while talking on the phone. Tokyo's weather's been weird since last year. It's been raining non-stop. First it was just in Hirakawa, Shibuya, Meguro, and Shinjuku. But now it's the whole city. A few isolated cases could be ignored. But the recent continuous rain was abnormal. And then there are the sky holes. They started tiny. Just 0.1 kilometers wide. But they've been growing. The biggest one was 20 kilometers in diameter. That's not natural. Rinji frowned at the screen. He remembered what he had learned. The US used weather weapons in Vietnam. Seeding clouds to trigger rain and cause floods. Later, they had weather-proof satellite bombs. But all of that followed the law of conservation. Inducing rain in one area caused droughts in others. Yet here, those gaps in the clouds didn't lead to rain anywhere else. So where did the water go? Rinji massaged his forehead. He had no answers for Hina's bizarre power. Why are you so focused on the weather now? Asked Shuk. No real damage here in Minato, Just a bit of rain. It's just related to someone really important to me. If it's someone you want to protect, we can bring them to HQ. It's safe here. I'd rather not disrupt her normal life. Rinji closed the satellite image and began browsing forums. There were many posts about a sunshine girl. Rumors of a girl who could make puddles rise and clear the skies. There were no photos, so most people treated it like a joke. Only a few posted serious theories. One wrote over 10,000 words. Do netizens have too much time now? Rinji, anything else? No. Thanks again, Uncle Shoop. Call if you need anything. Me or Mr. Shechik. Got it. After hanging up, Rinji kept browsing. Apparently, the urban legend had even made it into a magazine. Japan really is a small country. No real news, so they pad pages with ghost stories. Still, he clicked on the magazine's website. It was Mew, a lesser-known Japanese magazine focused on urban legends and speculative fiction. The latest cover featured Tokyo's mysterious weather. Could this be connected? BZ. His phone vibrated. It was Hayasaka. Hello, Rinji, sorry, I'll be late tonight. Kaguya-sama's acting weird. I stayed to check on her. No problem. I was out too. I'm on my way now. Okay. Rinji suddenly remembered something. Hey, can you do me a favor? Could you pick up the latest Mew from the convenience store? This month's issue. Mew? You're into that now? She said, chuckling. Sure, give me a few minutes. It's raining. Want me to come pick you up? No need, I'm already on the way. About 20 minutes later, Hayasaka knocked on Rinji's door. She entered with her umbrella and handed him the plastic bag containing the magazine. Thanks. No need to thank me. With our relationship, that's unnecessary. She said with a playful smile. Rinji blushed slightly. Remembering what happened yesterday and what he said, he couldn't help feeling a little flustered. Not just him. Hayasaka had been in a daze the whole day yesterday and even this morning. Rinji's sudden kiss had completely shaken her. Her long-standing wish had come true. She was grateful to Tumbo for the tip and glad she hadn't run away. By noon, she had recovered her composure. Unlike Kaguya, who had apparently lost it completely. Now, Hayasaka was thinking about how to move their relationship to the next stage. By the way. She looked around, where am I sleeping tonight? Huh? I thought I already prepared a room for you. We're dating now, right? Ah. That's true. Then shouldn't we be sleeping together tonight? Chapter 428, Urban Legend at present, the situation was in Hayasaka's favor. Originally, after Rinji and Kara became a couple, she had basically no chance left. But on the final afternoon of the Hashin festival, for some reason, Rinji had an emotional outburst. Taking advantage of a tip from Tomboyumi, Hayasaka gathered her courage, kissed Rinji under the fireworks, and confessed her feelings. She had only been hoping for a last-ditch shot. And somehow, she succeeded. Even she hadn't expected that. But once she succeeded, there was much more to do. The key now was how to further expand her advantage. In relationships, the confession is just the beginner level, the real challenge is what comes after. That is, how to maintain and deepen the relationship. Though overjoyed, she hadn't let the happiness cloud her mind. After calmly thinking things over the night before, Hayasaka came up with many ideas. The most straightforward, of course, would be going all the way. But Hayasaka knew that wasn't possible right now. After all, even Karura hadn't succeeded yet. Her own chances were slim at best. So for now, her goal was to stay by Rinji's side as much as possible and ideally let something romantic or flirty happen naturally. In any case, Hayasaka would be staying over at Rinji's house every weekend from Friday to Monday, so there would be plenty of opportunities. By the way, now that you're, well, my girlfriend, maybe you should stop wearing the maid outfit when you come over. Fair point. Hayasaka nodded thoughtfully. But it still feels like something's missing if I don't wear something like that. No, I really don't think maid outfits are inherently romantic. You're right. Next time, I'll wear a maid cafe-style one then. Hayasaka said. The kind with exposed armpits and a super short skirt. Normal clothes are fine. Rinji wasn't sure if it was just his imagination, but he felt Hayasaka had changed a little from her usual self. In a word, she'd gotten cheekier. After placing her bag on a chair, Hayasaka headed into the bathroom. Well then, I'm going to take a shower. Okay. I don't usually lock the door when I bathe. She said, peeking through the door crack. So don't peek, okay? Rest assured, I'm not the type to sneak around. Given we're dating now, if you do want to peek, just do it openly. Or better yet, come join me. I'll pass. The bathtub's too small for two. After saying that, Rinji opened Hayasaka's duffel bag and pulled out her change of clothes, handing them to her through the door. Take these now. If I have to bring them in later, I might see something I shouldn't. That's no fun at all. While water ran in the bathroom, Rinji sat in the living room flipping through the magazine Hayasaka had brought. The cover featured speculative content about weather weapons, trying to link Tokyo's current abnormal climate to military technology. Clearly bait for a younger audience. He turned to the page in question. Sure enough, it was an article about recent extreme weather. The writing was full of sensationalism. Rather than news reporting, it read more like an urban legend-based light novel. Still, one term caught Rinji's eye, Heronna. According to the author, they'd interviewed various shrine priests and eyewitnesses. After collecting the data, they submitted it to the magazine. While the article was filled with fantasy and chayuni nonsense, some details overlapped with what Rinji had heard from Tenbo. It mentioned gods that control weather, priestesses who can cure it, and other ramblings. Not much that could be used as actual reference. This kind of stuff still gets published. Guess they're really scraping the barrel for content these days. Click. Just then, the bathroom door opened. Hayasaka stepped out with a towel over her wet hair and walked behind Rinji. See anything interesting? Not really. Just one article caught my attention. Oh? Hayasaka took the magazine from him and flipped to the page. I see. So it's about the Sunshine Girl. That urban legend is pretty popular lately. You've heard of it? Yeah, some of my friends were talking about it the other day. There are even some short videos online. But we all just think it's a joke. Hayasaka's friend group was made up of standard Japanese JKs, so gossip and trends like this were right up their alley. Urban legends were a favorite topic among high school girls. She flipped back a few pages and suddenly pointed something out. Huh? There's a follow-up article about that meteorite that fell in Hida City. You mean the one that crashed into a small town? Rinji said with a smile. That was years ago. You even collected fragments for research, but I've no idea what they found. Rinji remembered it vaguely. He hadn't been in Japan at the time, so it hadn't involved him directly. Supposedly, he almost got into a fight with the U.S. military stationed in Japan over those meteorite fragments. Shuk, despite being cautious ever since becoming director, hadn't hesitated to take bold action for the organization's interests. Why are you suddenly interested in the Sunshine Girl? Don't tell me you believe in that stuff. There's some truth to this urban legend. It has to do with something I'm currently working on. Rinji took the magazine back and studied the names of shrines and eyewitnesses listed in the article. He figured he might get useful leads from these people. Because of Hina's situation, he knew he'd need to deal with some rather unconventional phenomena. And if he wanted to protect her, he had to learn to face those challenges. Snap. He closed the magazine and placed it on the dining table, a smile forming at the corner of his lips. No big deal. I'll just investigate it myself tomorrow. Sounds like you're getting wrapped up in something serious. Hayasaka remarked. I'm not being dragged into it. I'm stepping in willingly. Rinji smiled. Could turn out to be pretty interesting. I think you should start with school tomorrow. Hayasaka said. Judging from how Kaguya-sama was acting today, President Shirogane must be in a rough spot. What did Shinomiya pull this time? Chapter 429, gradually deteriorating attitude. Just yesterday, because of what happened on the final night of the Hashin festival, after a mental courtroom deliberation, the Ice Kaguya personality became the dominant one. Kaguya had been using this personality since elementary school. It was also the version of her that the surrounding students were most familiar with. From elementary through the first year of high school, she always maintained that cold and distant demeanor. Back in high school, she was even dubbed the Ice Princess Kaguya. With her stunning looks and identity as the eldest daughter of the Shinomiya family, she was like a noble princess sealed in ice. Students admired her, but were also terrified of her. They didn't dare to get close. This personality only began to shift after she met Shirogane. But now, Ice Kaguya had re-emerged. I just spoke to the president. He looks like he didn't sleep at all last night. Seems like he's been stressed out because of you. Rinji looked at the girl in front of him. Kaguya, who had now let her hair down and whose gaze had grown cold. I stayed over at my place last night. She mentioned your condition. And now that I've seen you today, you've definitely changed. Really? I think I'm perfectly normal right now. Kaguya casually flipped her long hair over her shoulder, her voice cold as ice. Did you come here just to tell me that I've changed? It's mainly about you and the president. Though I don't know the full details, you really have changed. Oh? Kaguya's expression turned somewhat playful. She rested her chin on her hand and looked at Rinji across from her with elegance. In what way have I changed, exactly? Your face is even more annoying than before. I didn't notice it that much in the past, but seeing your current expression just reminds me of that snotty Shinomiya brat from 4 years ago. You look like someone attending a funeral tomorrow. I didn't expect any praise from you anyway, but do you really have to insult me the moment you walk into school? Sorry. It's just that your face reminds me too much of your father and your brother. Makes me curious what would happen if I shot you in the head. Renji said with a grin. Kaguya could tell immediately. Ever since the Ice Kaguya persona took over, Renji's attitude toward her had plummeted dramatically. As fellow members of the student council, shouldn't you at least treat me like a person? Please try to understand, Shinomiya. Normally when I see anyone from your family, I treat them like shit. I mean, the Shinomiya agents who dared to investigate Tokyo? They disappeared without a trace. Renji said. You should feel lucky I still consider you human. Alright, I'll cut to the chase. What are you going to do about the president? Ever since you had your breakdown, he's been a mess every time I visit. Whatever's going on between me and Shirogane is our business. Are you sure you want to meddle in someone else's relationship drama? Kaguya asked flatly. If you put it like that, things get a bit more complicated. Is there a problem? Not exactly. Then just say what you want to say, no need to hold back. Kaguya smiled. Okay, I'll say it. Go ahead. I took a whole damn morning out of my schedule to deal with your crap, and you have the nerve to play coy with me? I thought everything would be resolved and you two would live happily ever after once the festival was over. Then the very next day, you pull this nonsense? Is there a hole in your head? Your attitude really has gotten worse. Kaguya let out a sigh. As Ice Kaguya, she actually appreciated Renji the most. And had a fairly high opinion of him. But ironically, this was the version of her that he disliked the most. There are some things that just can't be explained, even if I try. If you don't explain it, I can't help. So what's the actual problem? Renji said irritably. If it's that bastard Ganon refusing to let you date the president, then don't worry. I'm not going to kill him for now, but breaking a few limbs? That's on the table. Don't say something so terrifying. Nothing like that is happening between the president and me. Kaguya shook her head. The reason I didn't say anything about this was because I wanted Shirogane to notice it himself. Fine, how pretentious. There was no way Renji could understand what was going on in Kaguya's mind. All he knew was that they'd spent a whole month putting together a plan to help Shirogane and Kaguya get together, using a lot of manpower and resources in the process. Trying to understand a girl's heart really was difficult for Renji. Anyway, it seems like you gained quite a bit from this Hoshin festival too, Renji-kun. Kaguya smiled. You even managed to steal Hayasaka from my side. You've got some nerve saying that. It's not like you're paying her salary. Renji laughed. Besides, working for the Shinomiya family has been hell for I. Your main family has always treated her like a tool. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe more of your main family should die. Might as well wipe them all out. Renji's attitude toward Kaguya was visibly deteriorating. If they kept talking like this, they might really go from friends to enemies. Forget it. Your business isn't mine to worry about. Apparently not wanting to look at Kaguya any longer, Renji stood up from the sofa. You and the president can figure it out yourselves. I've got other things this afternoon, so I won't be at school. Don't go doing anything stupid. Don't worry, I'll be careful. As Renji walked out of the classroom, Kaguya followed behind him. After hesitating for a moment, she asked the question she'd been holding in. Renji-kun, there's something I want to ask you. You and Hayasaka. You've kissed, haven't you? The usually icy Kaguya suddenly held a hand in front of her face, seemingly trying to hide her blushing cheeks. Yeah. Renji admitted it straightforwardly. Can I ask? Who initiated it? Is that really important? It is to me. I did. Huh? Is that so weird? No. Thank you for answering. After Renji left, Kaguya lowered her head and muttered to herself. Even someone like Renji-kun, who's emotionally tone-deaf, took the initiative to kiss. What kind of trick did Hayasaka use? Maybe I should just go ask her directly. Chapter 430, Life goes on, so does the chaos. This is what a sky priestess sees when she's healing the weather. And don't smoke here. It's disrespectful. Oh, my bad. Renji stubbed out his cigarette in a small ashtray he carried and looked up at the mural on the ceiling. In the painting, countless fish floated among layered clouds, with a massive whale poking its head out. Taking up nearly half the mural was a dragon made of white mist, its jaws wide open as if to devour everything. Showing me this mystical crap the moment I get here. I should have just gone to the meteorological agency. You're here to ask about the Sunshine Girl. People at the agency wouldn't tell you any of this. An old man stood before Renji. This was his home shrine. Renji had read in a magazine that the shrine had information on the Sunshine Girl, so he came to check it out. How long has humanity been tracking weather? 200 years, maybe? But that mural's already 800 years old. So you live in an 800-year-old house, huh? Pretty impressive. Rinji raised his phone and snapped a photo of the ceiling mural. 800 years. That'd be the Kamakura period in Japan, right? This mural might be 800 years old, but the Sunshine Girl existed even earlier. Probably goes back to the previous era. The Han period? Before Kamakura was the Han period, when the Fujiwara clan controlled politics. Then in the late 12th century, Minamoto no Yaruhama was named shogun and established the Kamakura shogunate. Weather is just the god's mood. There's no such thing as abnormal weather. It's just part of the cycle. The old man rasped. Sunshine girls were born in response to this. To soothe the weather and the gods. But for your generation, this probably sounds like nothing more than a myth. Not really. Our school has its own version of Princess Kaguya from the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. Rinji said. Too bad she's a damaged version with a few screws loose. Not quite like the legend. He was, of course, referring to Kaguya. You're probably the youngest one to visit this place. The old man chuckled. Someone else came yesterday asking about the Sunshine Girl. Huh? Rinji immediately tensed up. His first thought was that someone had discovered Hina's powers and was investigating her. Who? A young woman in her early 20s. Said she was doing research for an article. Do you know where she came from? Some nearby studio that focuses on this kind of stuff. I forgot the name. Alright. Thanks anyway. Even though he hadn't learned much, Rinji thanked him and turned to leave. But the old man called out. Kid, you came here looking for answers. Is it because you know a Sunshine Girl? Rinji stopped. What? Just so you know, Sunshine Girl weather maidens. Sky priestesses. Are the link between heaven and earth. They channel human prayers to the sky. The old man continued, but their fates are always tragic. There are no exceptions. They always vanish from this world. In the end, they're sacrifices to the gods. Oh please. Real gods don't need sacrifices. Rinji suddenly laughed. Things that defy logic love calling themselves gods, because no one knows what they really are. Makes it easy to fake an identity. He turned and walked toward the exit. As long as it's not human, I don't care if it's a god or not. Oh? Why's that? Because anything that's not human doesn't have human rights. If it has no rights, I can do whatever I want to it. Rinji grinned. Rinji, where are you right now? Harajuku. By the way, Fujiwara, are you calling me in such a hurry because something happened with the student council? Rinji was standing on the sidewalk, taking shelter from the rain, speaking with Fujiwara over the phone. Did Shinomiya have another episode? Huh? Kaguya-san is totally normal today. No different than usual. Hearing that, I guess your brain hasn't changed either. No improvement at all. Rinji said. So why are you calling me? Rinji-kun. Chika suddenly lowered her voice, like she had uncovered some sort of secret. You suddenly not showing up to school. Is it because you're investigating some kind of paranormal incident? How did you know that? Hey, you think you can hide something like that from me, the love detective? Then, oh great love detective. Who still hasn't caught Arsène Lupin? Mind telling me how you figured that out? This morning, you brought a copy of Mew magazine to the student council room. That magazine focuses on legends and ghost stories. Plus, 3 pages looked like they'd been flipped through a lot. Each one related to Tokyo's recent abnormal weather. With how sharp you are, how do you still miss when Shinomiya is acting weird? So you really are investigating this, and it's related to the urban legend of the Sunshine Girl that's been going around online, right? You got me. Never thought someone like you would be into urban legends. What are you trying to say? Why didn't you invite me to something this fun? I wanna investigate urban legends too. It sounds super fun. Wait, don't get ahead of yourself. I'm only doing this because... Harajuku, right? I'm heading there now. Fujiwara said immediately. You're way too inefficient on your own. With the help of this love detective, we'll crack the case in no time. And with that, she hung up before Rinji could even refuse. Standing on the sidewalk in the pouring rain, Rinji had a sinking feeling. He was definitely in trouble. Chapter 431, Flower Lock Holmes and Rinji Watson. Even though I expected this, I can't believe you actually wore that stupid deerstalker hat. Rinji had been waiting at the street corner for over 10 minutes when Fujiwara finally arrived, panting slightly from having run part of the way. She was, of course, wearing the brown deerstalker she always used when playing detective. The style was made famous by Sherlock Holmes and became popular with mystery fans around the world. So you borrowed it from the drama club again? You never skip the theatrics, even when causing chaos. This is a rare chance to investigate an urban legend. Of course I need props. Fujiwara pulled out another hat and handed it to Rinji. Here, as my assistant, you get one too. I'm not interested in being lumped together with you. Still, Renji accepted the hat and put it on. So where should we start, Mr. Watson? You came all the way here and don't even know what to investigate. Miss Holmes, seriously? Renji pulled out his phone and marked a location on the map. Earlier, I got the studio's address from the magazine publisher. Let's check it out. They've apparently been investigating the Weather Maiden for a while now. There's a chance they already have solid intel. Change the term from Sunshine Girl to Weather Maiden. Seemed more appropriate. Okay, let's go. Don't try to take over. This investigation matters a lot to me, so don't cause trouble. After weaving through some buildings and a few blocks, Renji and Fujiwara arrived at the location marked on the phone. The magazine listed the name of the studio but not its address. However, since the article was credited to a studio rather than an individual, it was easy to look up and find the place on a map. The location was a basement-level room, with stairs leading directly to the street above. But instead of a place you'd expect a writing studio to be, it looked more like a bar from the outside. Is this really the place? If you're bored, you can head back. No way. Opportunities to investigate urban legends like this don't come often. Fujiwara smiled. And it's so rare for someone like you to show interest in this stuff and even investigate in person. I'm seeing a surprisingly childish side of you. Stop trying to psychoanalyze me. Renji knocked on the door as he spoke. Knock knock knock. After knocking, the two of them waited outside. Rustling sounds came from inside, and after about 30 seconds, the door opened. The person who answered was a sleepy-looking woman, probably in her early 20s, wearing super short denim shorts. Her black hair draped over her bare shoulders, and one of the purple spaghetti straps on her top had slipped down her arm. She had the kind of mature beauty that radiated allure. Ugh. Who is it? Hello, is this the K&A office? I'm Natsumi? Fujiwara suddenly called out the woman's name. The woman blinked, then her drowsiness faded as recognition set in. Chika? Inside the studio, while the coffee table had some trash scattered on it, the place was relatively tidy. A blanket on the couch made it obvious that the woman, Natsumi, had just been napping there. After placing 2 glasses of juice in front of them, Natsumi smiled. Didn't expect you to find me here, Chika. What a surprise. I didn't expect to see you either, Natsumi. It's been ages. You know her? Renji asked. Yeah. Chika smiled. Natsumi's dad works at the Ministry of Finance and is an old friend of my dad's. We met when we were kids. Wow. To wake up and find 2 kids wearing detective hats at the door. Shuga Natsumi chuckled. So, what brings you here? Something you wanted to ask me? It's like this. Renji began explaining. I read the report your office published on the Weather Maiden and came to see if I could learn more about your findings. I see, I see. Natsumi looked at them with interest, eyes lingering on the detective hats. Ah. Young people really are into weird stories these days. Taking time to investigate urban legends. How youthful. Renji. He felt like she saw him as some cranny middle schooler obsessed with urban legends. Sure, since you're Chika's friend, I'll share a bit more. Natsumi suddenly put on a serious face. This is valuable info I spent a lot of time digging up. I don't tell just anyone. Thank you. Chika turned to Renji and grinned. See? You're lucky I came along, or you'd never have gotten this info. Renji, yeah, lucky me. Now I get to be mistaken for an easy-to-fool kid thanks to you. He could clearly see the teasing glint in Natsumi's eyes. She'd definitely lumped him in with Chika, the cancer of Earth. Which was fair. No self-respecting person would come hang out with Chika otherwise. Click. Just then, the door opened again. A scruffy middle-aged man walked in, unshaven and slouching. He tossed a pack of beer onto the table. What's up, Natsumi? Visitors? Noticing Renji and Chika on the couch, he casually cracked open a beer and took a swig. Ah, Keisuke. Natsumi smiled. These 2 cute kids came asking about the Weather Maiden. Oh? They found us because of the article, huh? Kids these days sure have time on their hands. The man chuckled. Sure, just tell them whatever. Right after he said that, Renji spoke up. Your name is Shuga Keisuke, right? You're the one who wrote that report on the Weather Maiden, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, that's me. What, you want to hear more stories? You're one curious kid. Age 42. Head of K&A Planning Studio. You handle editing and project planning for the magazine. Officially, you're the only one registered to the company. Natsumi is likely a relative of yours. You were once married to Asuka Mamiya, who died in a car crash 4 years ago. Currently, you're in a custody dispute over your daughter Mocha. Am I wrong? Glatter. Keisuke dropped his beer can. How? How do you know that? Just making sure you take me seriously. If you think I'm just some curious high school kid here for fun, that'd be a problem. Rinji turned to look Keisuke directly in the eye. I'm not here for kiddie stories. I want everything you know. Chapter 432, can you at least have some shame? Tell me everything you know, Mr. Shuga. Rinji said. This isn't some high school adventure game. The info matters to me. His expression was firm. Clearly not the kind of person chasing urban legends just for the thrill. What exactly do you want to know? Everything. All the information you've gathered and your sources. Tell me everything. Standing directly in front of Keisuke, Rinji pressed. Behind him, Natsumi glanced curiously at him, then leaned toward Chika and whispered, Chika, you're classmates with this guy? He is kind of scary. Really? I've never thought so. Chika replied with a smile. Though yeah, lots of students are scared of him. He's done some pretty strange stuff at school. Honestly, when it came to bizarre behavior, Rinji was no match for Fujiwara herself. All the actual investigation was done by Natsumi. I just handled the editing. Keisuke said helplessly. Ask her. I can vouch for that. Natsumi waved Rinji over. Keisuke-san's daily schedule consists of drinking and playing pachinko. Total slacker. You didn't have to say it like that. So you're the one with all the intel? Rinji sat back down on the couch and pulled out a small notebook. Let's start with what you know about the Weather Maiden. And where exactly you went to investigate? Let me think. Natsumi tapped her chin for a moment. Some high schoolers who posted videos on forums, a street corner fortune teller, and that weather shrine in Harajuku. You mean the one with the mural on the ceiling? Huh? You've been there too? The shrine priest said a college-aged girl came to interview them. Must have been you. I basically just went wherever there might be clues. As for whether the info was real or not, I honestly didn't care. Natsumi shrugged. Our magazine pieces are meant to tap into people's curiosity. If it's all true, it's boring. Got it. Then tell me everything besides what you got from the shrine. Sure. She cleared her throat and pulled out her own little notebook. This one's from an old fortune-telling lady. Weather maidens exist, and so do rain maidens. The Weather Maiden is possessed by a natural spirit of the Inari lineage, while the Rain Maiden is possessed by a dragon god lineage spirit. Did you just start reading light novel lore? I'm just reading what I wrote down. Natsumi continued, people of the dragon god lineage drink tons of beverages. Since they're dragons, they instinctively crave water. They're strong-willed, good under pressure, but tend to be sloppy and impulsive. People of the Inari lineage are diligent and successful in their careers, but also a bit soft and not great leaders. Oddly enough, they're often very attractive. Interesting. Fujiwara was totally engrossed, nodding repeatedly. Attractive, huh? Wait a minute. What? Fujiwara looked at Rinji, then nervously pointed to herself. Isn't that describing me? Don't tell me. I'm the Weather Maiden? Can you have a shred of shame, Secretary Fujiwara? Natsumi went on reading from her notes. Those who use weather powers too much supposedly vanish without a trace, merging with Gaia. Because of this, Weather Maidens and Rain Maidens have statistically higher rates of debt, bankruptcy, and disappearance. Dragon Gods, Gaia, Myth Fusion. This is like the Temu version of DC vs Marvel. Hey, I just read the notes. Like I said, I gather all kinds of info. I never said I care if it's true or not. Fantastic. Rinji sighed. After all that, there still wasn't a single useful clue. Though, the stuff about dragon lineage and Inari lineage did sound familiar. At least, Tenbo had mentioned it before. Alright, is that all? That's all. Okay. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Rinji stood up after speaking. By the way, your agency should stop writing articles about the Weather Maiden from now on. Huh? Why? It involves some rather unpleasant matters. It's best if information about the Weather Maiden remains just an urban legend and is forgotten over time. Said Rinji. Please cooperate a little. If it causes financial losses, I'll compensate you according to market price. Is it really necessary to go that far? Keisuke asked curiously. Kid, you don't look like someone who's here out of idle curiosity. What are you really after, investigating these strange supernatural things? Seeing everyone's gaze fall on him, Rinji slowly spoke. I'm just doing this to protect those who should be protected. Standing on the street, Rinji held an umbrella. The fierce wind and heavy rain tossed the umbrella around violently. He had only spent a few minutes in the agency, but the rain outside had gotten even heavier. Sorry to keep you waiting. The agency door opened, and Fujiwara walked over holding her umbrella. I was talking with Natsumi about the past. It really makes me feel how complicated the adult world is compared to us students. I think even if you become an adult, you'd still be an optimist without many worries. That world probably wouldn't affect you much," said Renji. "You already know what we've been investigating. Don't you think it's time to head back to school?" "What about you, Renji-kun?" "Of course I'm going to keep investigating." "Then I'll keep investigating too." Fujiwara adjusted the deerstalker hat on her head. "A detective can't give up so easily, right? You really have an odd obsession with urban legends." "Hee, it's a rare opportunity after all. Besides," Fujiwara smiled as she looked at Renji, "I feel like if I keep investigating with you, I might get to see a different side of you." Chapter 433, Struck by Lightning. It all started last year. Counting the number of mysterious holes appearing in the sky, it was manageable at first. Once every 2 weeks. But later, it seemed to become normal, happening every 3 days on average. Slurp, slurp. It all began with an unidentified void in the sky in June last year. At that time, Shibuya in Tokyo had continuous heavy rain. The void appeared just north of the NHK Broadcasting Center, near Yoyogi-Kaikon. Slurp, slurp. Looks like we really should check it out. Slurp, slurp. Here, take this napkin and wipe your mouth. Ah, thanks. Fujiwara took the napkin from Renji and wiped the soup from the corner of her mouth. After leaving the agency, the two of them went to a nearby ramen shop for lunch. Of course, only Fujiwara was eating. She was slurping noodles while Renji sat beside her sorting through the information he had collected. "Aren't you going to eat, Renji-kun?" Fujiwara pointed at the bowl of ramen in front of Renji. "If you wait too long, the noodles will get soggy. I'll eat in a bit. Let me finish going through this first." "I feel like you've been acting weird since today." "Well, it's just that you've been doing things I didn't expect from you," she said with a smile. "At school, you never seemed interested in anything outside of work. No student council games or events. You always felt a little out of place with us. I'm just not interested in the things you guys do. But after I found out you were investigating urban legends, I felt like I was seeing a different side of you." Fujiwara smiled cheerfully. "Based on what I know about you, I didn't think you'd take this sort of thing so seriously. So you're following me around because I did something unexpected?" "Well, I am interested in urban legends too." Fujiwara leaned on the table, her long pink hair falling over her shoulders, her eyes seemingly sparkling. "I just want to understand you better, Renji-kun. Don't try to understand things you shouldn't. But you're part of the student council, you know," Fujiwara said quietly. "Kaguya used to be cold, the president always forces himself too hard, Ishigami is a bit reclusive, and Macho is too rigid. None of them were ever perfect, but they're all essential parts of the student council. I understand them, and I know they'll overcome their issues eventually. So I never worry about them." She paused for a moment before continuing. "But you, Renji-kun. I worry about you more than anyone. You seem like you've blended into the council, but it feels like you're drifting further and further away from us. Sometimes I really admire you, Secretary Fujiwara," Renji said with a smile. "You always notice things others miss." He picked up his chopsticks and quickly finished the noodles in his bowl. After wiping his mouth with a napkin, Renji spoke. "I remember I told you before. The reason you feel that way about me is tied to my past. It took me half a year to get used to life in the student council. You don't need to understand me too deeply, and you shouldn't try to probe further. Some things really aren't meant for you to see. Why are you so intent on hiding things, Renji-kun? I'm not hiding anything on purpose. And I advise you not to dig too deeply either. If you one day stumble upon a side of me by accident, that's just your bad luck." With that, Renji stood up, went to the register to pay, and left the ramen shop. Fujiwara followed him. On the rainy street, she opened her umbrella and looked at him. "Then, is it okay if I keep investigating with you? If you want to come, I don't mind." "Oh." Yoyogi-Kaikon was a very old building. As they climbed the stairs on the side of the building, the rusted metal creaked under their feet. It was already deemed a dangerous building, and no one really lived there anymore. It was reportedly scheduled for demolition soon. Renji and Fujiwara carefully climbed the rickety stairs to the rooftop. "This is the place?" Standing on the rooftop, Renji looked up at the sky. The clouds were still heavy, and rain kept falling. "This is really strange." Fujiwara stared at the scene before her in awe. "What is it?" "There's a torii gate up here." Fujiwara pointed ahead. In the corner of the small rooftop stood a red torii gate. Normally, torii gates aren't placed on rooftops. And this one is way smaller than the ones you'd find at shrines. Torii gates are traditional Japanese shrine structures marking the entrance to a sacred space, separating the divine realm from the secular world. They're meant to remind visitors that they're entering a sacred space, where all actions should be taken seriously. Usually, torii are found at shrine entrances or in mountains, and they're big enough for crowds to pass through. But this one wasn't just small. It was oddly placed on a rooftop with no shrine around, and barely wide enough for one person. Rinji narrowed his eyes at the small torii in front of him. Actually, small torii aren't unusual in Japan. Shintoism speaks of 8 million gods, which refers not to a literal number, but the idea that everything has a spirit. So theoretically, even a used tissue could be deified under the right circumstances. But that wasn't what concerned Rinji. What concerned him was that this torii was located exactly where the first void appeared. So this is where Hina gained the ability to control the weather? Thinking that, he began walking toward the torii. Just then, the clouds overhead began to churn, and flashes of lightning rolled across the sky. The sudden gust of wind made Fujiwara squint, her eyes stinging. When she opened them again, she saw something bizarre. This. The rainwater on the rooftop began to float, twisting into the shape of fish that swam through the air. Rinji-kun. Look over here. Huh? Boom. A bolt of lightning struck down at the exact moment Fujiwara finished speaking, landing squarely on Rinji. Chapter 434. This is very scientific lightning, one of nature's most mysterious forces. It's beautiful, yet terrifying. Each strike generates billions of volts, heating the air instantly to over 27,760 degrees Celsius. 5 times the temperature of the sun's surface. Now, lightning descended from the sky like a giant hammer and struck Rinji directly. Crack. The impact released a burst of smoke and a smell of burning. Fujiwara Chika stood frozen in shock, her umbrella falling to the ground. She didn't even notice that she was completely soaked. She just stared blankly, her mind in chaos. Rinji-kun. That same student who was always restless at school, but hardworking in the student council, had just been struck by lightning right in front of her. She couldn't believe what she saw. It felt like a dream. A nightmare. Even though she didn't want to believe it, the smell of burning mixed with mist was too real. Her friend, someone she'd known for over half a year, had just died. Right before her eyes. But then, the smoke cleared. Rinji was still standing there. There were no wounds on his body, nor were there any scorch marks on his clothes. Despite being struck by lightning, he neither panicked nor got angry. He didn't say a word. Just slightly lifted his head to look at the sky. Rinji-kun. As Rinji seemed lost in thought, Fujiwara suddenly rushed over and hugged him tightly, tears streaming from her large, glistening eyes. Wah. Rinji-kun, you're okay. I'm so glad. Yeah. I was so scared when I saw you get struck by lightning. Fujiwara sobbed uncontrollably. I mean, you've done plenty of reckless things before, so maybe it was only a matter of time before you got struck, but I didn't expect it to be this soon. I'm just glad you're still alive. Your words are incredibly irritating, but thanks for your concern. Maybe it all happened too fast. From being struck to still being alive. Fujiwara's emotions had gone on a complete roller coaster. After crying for quite a while, she finally calmed down and looked at Rinji with concern. Rinji-kun. Are you really okay? I'm fine. I don't know. Fujiwara still couldn't relax. I saw you get hit by lightning with my own eyes. There's no way you'd be totally fine from that. No, this is perfectly normal. How is that normal? You got hit by lightning. Show a little concern for your own condition. This is absolutely normal. Watching Fujiwara flustered and scrambling around in panic, Rinji calmly explained. The survival rate for being struck by lightning is actually 90%. Huh? Lightning in nature doesn't just randomly strike someone's head. Fatal lightning strikes generally fall into 2 categories. Rinji raised 2 fingers. The first is when lightning strikes an object a person is holding, like an umbrella or a golf club, and the current travels into the body. That has the highest mortality rate. He paused, then continued. What happened to me is the second type, side flash. The lightning struck somewhere nearby and jumped to me. Chika looked totally confused. Since the ground has higher resistance, current tends to travel through lower resistance conductors. Humans or animals are good options. Lightning usually breaks through the air around head height and discharges through the body. Rinji continued. When lightning discharges to the ground, it creates an electric potential field. The closer to the strike point, the higher the potential. If your feet are standing at points with different potentials, it creates a voltage between them. This is called step voltage. The further apart your feet are, the greater the voltage. And the more severe the injuries. Ugh. I don't get it at all. Fujiwara's head was spinning. Basically, because I had my feet together when I was struck, I didn't trigger the step voltage and got lucky. Saying that, Rinji picked up the umbrella from the ground and covered Fujiwara's shoulders with it, gently turning her toward the exit. Anyway, surviving a lightning strike is a completely rational and scientifically explainable outcome. Don't dwell on it. Oh. Well, if you say so, I feel better. Fujiwara didn't think much of it. Even if she didn't understand, she let it go. But that really was terrifying. I thought my heart was going to stop when the lightning hit you. Forget the unpleasant stuff. That's the end of today's investigation. Standing behind Fujiwara, Rinji smiled, then looked up again at the swirling thunderclouds above and the torii gate in the corner of the rooftop. He now understood. Something didn't want him getting close to that torii. In Shinto belief, a torii represents the boundary between the mortal world and the divine realm. Trying to pass through it meant reaching toward the heavens. And that something didn't want him going to heaven or coming in contact with whatever was behind the torii. So it sent lightning straight at him. In truth, all that science talk Rinji gave Fujiwara was nonsense. It wasn't some side flash. The lightning had struck him directly on the head. The extreme heat and shock force had acted on his body full force. It didn't miss at all. All of it had just been a lie to justify to Fujiwara why he wasn't dead. Fujiwara wouldn't question it anyway, so Rinji didn't mind making something up. As for the real reason he was still alive, it was simple. Lightning couldn't kill him. TCH. A few years ago, this might have actually killed me. That was close. After getting Fujiwara out of the Yoyogi Kaikon building, Rinji sneered up at the sky. Now he understood the seriousness of the situation. The one who gave Hina her power likely resided behind that torii gate. And could control the weather. Combining this with the vanishing of weather maidens, Rinji figured they were probably taken to the so-called heavens and offered up as sacrifices to some deity. That lightning strike just now. I'll consider that your declaration of war. Rinji grinned viciously at the sky. Or maybe it was a provocation, you bastard hiding up there too afraid to show your face. Chapter 435, Trouble because she had personally witnessed Rinji being struck by lightning. Fujiwara, already afraid of thunder, was now even more terrified of this natural phenomenon. After leaving the Yoyogi Kaikon, she simply put away her umbrella and bought a raincoat at a convenience store. Well then, Secretary Fujiwara, you should head back. See you at school tomorrow. Are you sure you'll come to school tomorrow? I'll be there for a while at least. Once this business is over, I'll return. Rinji-kun, are you really going to keep investigating? Fujiwara asked, sounding downcast. That was so dangerous just now. And yet you still want to continue? I already told you. This is important to me. Can't you just tell me what it is? Why would you keep going after something so dangerous? What could possibly be more important than your safety? Fujiwara suddenly shouted. I don't understand. I can never understand what you're really trying to do. We're all in the student council, but you keep everything to yourself. Rinji paused, then took off the deerstalker hat on his head and gently placed it on Fujiwara's. The world you guys see and the world I live in are different. We can be friends, but if you try too hard to understand each other's worlds, it might mean we can't even stay friends. Rinji. Thanks for coming with me on this. And sorry, Secretary Fujiwara. The detective game is over. The lightning strike had hit Rinji directly. Although he was unharmed, his phone wasn't so lucky. As everyone knows, lightning isn't exactly AC or DC current. It's a pulse phenomenon. When it strikes, it unleashes not only heat and high voltage, but also an electromagnetic pulse, EMP. It was like a massive EMP bomb. Even though Rinji's phone was a custom-made organizational model, it couldn't survive such a direct strike and now wouldn't power on. Looking at the smoking phone in his hand, Rinji sighed and tucked it into his pocket. After saying goodbye to Fujiwara, he had wanted to find Hina, but with his phone broken, he had no way to contact her through line. Just as he was considering buying a spare phone from a telecom shop, two familiar figures caught his attention. Hina? And Nagi? What are you doing out in this heavy rain? Rinji? Thank goodness, so you're here? Hina, wearing a raincoat and dragging Nagi along, looked visibly surprised when she saw Rinji, then her face lit up with relief. What's going on? No time. Just run. Without waiting, Hina grabbed Rinji's wrist and pulled him along. What happened? As he ran with her, Rinji's expression turned serious. Are you being chased? If so, don't worry. I'll kill them all. No, it's not like that. Hina shook her head and whispered as she ran. It's the child welfare officials. They came to take me and my brother away. Ah, right. Rinji had been so busy that he'd forgotten. Hina and Nagi, while not undocumented, were legally considered minors without guardians in Japan. Under Japanese law, orphans with no living parents are supposed to be taken in by relatives. If there are none, They're placed in child welfare facilities. Essentially orphanages. Adoptive parents are selected by the facility, not self-chosen. Married couples aren't allowed to adopt orphans directly, the facility decides among candidates. It's technically to protect the children. But Hina and Nagi clearly didn't want that. Because going meant being separated. Where are we headed now? I haven't thought that far. I just grabbed Nagi and ran. Hina said, blushing a little. I wanted to talk to you about it first, but your phone wouldn't connect. Oh. My phone broke earlier. In a moment of trouble, the first person Hina turned to was Renji. She used to bear everything alone. There was no one she could rely on. That changed the moment Renji appeared. He was the only one she could depend on. Alright. Let's head to my place first. We'll figure out the rest from there. Okay. After calling someone to pick them up and bring them back to the apartment in Minato Ward, Renji handed over his phone for repairs. He brought the siblings into his home and turned on the water heater. Go take a bath first. I'll find some clothes for you to change into. Thank you. Thanks. The siblings looked around the interior of the apartment. It was simple, but far larger than the place they used to live in. It was around 3 p.m. Nagi went to take a bath first, while Renji and Hina sat in the living room. I'll think of a way to deal with the child welfare people. Maybe I can convince someone to intervene. If not, I'll talk to them myself. Don't worry. I won't let them separate you and your brother. Thank you. And sorry for the trouble. It's no trouble at all. As long as you're doing okay, that's enough for me. Renji said with a smile. If anything comes up, just tell me. I'll take care of it. Yes. Compared to simply offering financial support, Renji's personal involvement gave Hina a much greater sense of reassurance. He didn't just throw a wad of cash at them and call it a day. He treated the siblings like they were part of his own family. Looking around, Hina said, Renji, your place is pretty big. It's alright, nothing compared to my house back home. Renji replied. But it's enough. I used to live here alone anyway. Used to? So you're not living alone now? Well, not exactly full-time. Ding dong. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Renji stood up and checked the peephole, spotting Hayasaka standing at the door. He immediately opened it. You're home early. There weren't any classes today. Also, the student secretary came to me all of a sudden, asking about your whereabouts. She looked genuinely worried. What exactly have you been doing all day? Also, who's that kid sitting in the living room? Hayasaka paused mid-sentence as she noticed the nervous-looking Hina in the living room. Chapter 436, You're even more ridiculous than I thought. Water could be heard from the bathroom. In the living room, the two girls sat across from each other, silently staring. Renji sat between them and, sensing the awkward atmosphere, spoke up. This is Amano Hina, the daughter of a deceased friend of mine. I'm currently looking after her. I see. Nice to meet you, Amano-san. Nice to meet you too, Hayasaka-san. Hina looked quite tense. It wasn't that she feared Hayasaka. It was just her first time meeting someone connected to Renji, aside from and Hayasaka's emotionless expression did give off a certain intimidating vibe. Hina and her younger brother Nagi will probably be staying here for a while. Once I settle arrangements with the relevant institutions, I'll find them a new place. Need help? No, I can handle this much on my own. If you've already made your decision, then I've got no objections. Hayasaka glanced at Hina with curiosity. It wasn't unusual for a girl to be in Renji's house. Although he was reckless by nature, he didn't lead a messy private life. The only women who came to his place were Karura and Fujui, on weekends, Hayasaka, permanent. Occasional visits, and Kaname. And Kaname usually came just to discuss school matters or scold him. Even if Renji really were hiding a lover here, Hayasaka wouldn't say anything. She was partly responsible for messing with his mind during the last day of the Hoshin festival. Knock knock. The sound of running water faded. From inside the bathroom, Nagi called out, Renji, do you have any clean clothes I can wear? Oh, I'll grab some for you. Renji got up, went into his room, and came back with a set of clothes just the right size for an elementary schooler. He handed them to the bathroom. Hayasaka said, Renji, you even have clothes that small? Made them on the spot. Not long after, Nagi walked out, freshly changed. As soon as he entered the living room, he spotted Hayasaka. The unfamiliar face caused the boy to freeze for a moment. Is there a guest? Hello, you must be Amano Nagi. Hayasaka smiled warmly at him. Renji just told me about you. Hello. As he greeted her, his mind raced. Growing up in poverty, he had learned early on how to read people and navigate social situations. She's wearing the Shuchin uniform. Must be a rich girl from the same elite school. From her looks and style, She's probably a Gyaru type. If she can come here and call him Renji so casually, are they siblings? No, even if both have blonde hair, their facial features are very different. After a quick assessment, Nagi smiled and said to Hayasaka, "This beautiful lady must be Renji and his girlfriend, right?" Hina, eh? Hayasaka's expression didn't change. She stood up and gently patted Nagi's head. Renji chuckled. "That's right. She is my girlfriend." With Renji's confirmation, Nagi breathed a sigh of relief. Looks like he guessed right. "Come on, Nagi. I'll help you get your room set up." Okay. They entered a guest room. It used to be Fujui's room. Since she wasn't around now, her things were stored away, and the room could serve as a bedroom for the siblings. "Renji," Nagi said while spreading out the bedding. "Yeah? So you already have a girlfriend? Is it really that surprising that I do?" "Well, not exactly surprising. To be honest, I've been pretty lucky with women lately," Renji said. "Right now, I have 2 girlfriends." Nagi stared at Renji in disbelief. "Shocked?" "Yeah, kind of. Yeah, 2 girlfriends is a bit. Only 2? Kid, you're even more ridiculous than I imagined. No, I mean, someone like you, Renji, good-looking and rich. Shouldn't you have girls lining up for you? Who told you that? That's not how the world works." Renji sighed as he placed 2 pillows on the bed. "I was single until 6 months ago. Even my dad was rich when he was young, and apparently, he didn't even date once in his 20s. What you're talking about is rare. Getting a girlfriend is still about timing and fate. Money can't buy everything." "That part's true." Nagi nodded. "My family's broke, but I still have quite a few close female friends at school." "Oh?" Renji grinned. "Not bad, kid. How many?" Nagi held up 2 fingers. 2? 2 digits. "Nagi, you're in elementary school, right?" "Yeah. You've got issues." Outside the guest room, Hina and Hayasaka were still sitting in the living room. Hayasaka-san, are you really Renji's girlfriend?" "Yeah. Though we only started dating recently. Today is the 3rd day." Hayasaka replied. "I see. I'm really sorry. I must have caused your boyfriend a lot of trouble lately." "Don't say that. Renji made this decision on his own. I wouldn't interfere with what he chooses to do," Hayasaka said, then glanced at the girl in front of her. "Besides, it's the first time I've seen him so serious about helping someone." She had also noticed changes in Kaguya lately. Things probably weren't going well for Shirogane. Under normal circumstances, Renji would have prioritized anything related to Shirogane. But these past 2 days, he had vanished from school altogether to investigate other matters. And today, even Fujiwara came to her to talk about Renji. It was the first time she saw the ever-cheerful secretary looking genuinely worried. Whatever's going on must be serious. Especially since Renji had started investigating the urban legend of the Weather Maiden yesterday. Hayasaka now suspected there might be a connection between Hina and that legend. Chapter 437, The Promise. "Mono-san, you shouldn't overthink this too much," Hayasaka said. "Renji is helping you out of sincerity. You don't need to feel indebted. Just accepting his help is already enough for him." "Yeah, I know. Even so, I'm really grateful to him. He reached out to help when I needed it most." Hina's expression clouded with a hint of helplessness and pain. "And I feel like I'm letting him down." "Why do you say that?" "Because the outcome of all this might not be what Renji expects." After bathing, Nagi helped Renji tidy up the guest room. Hina, who had also been caught in the rain, was now showering in the bathroom. Hayasaka lent her some clothes to change into, so Renji didn't have to make a new set this time. Renji looked out the window. The rain was getting heavier, the wind howling as it slammed raindrops against the glass. With Nagi already settled in the guest room, only Renji and Hayasaka remained in the living room. After a moment of silence, Hayasaka asked, "Renji, back to what we were talking about earlier. What exactly happened?" The way the class secretary looked worried wasn't like her at all. "Fujiwara didn't tell you everything?" "No. When I asked, she only said you went out together and that something happened. She didn't say what." "Pretty tight-lipped. That's one of Fujiwara's rare strong points." Renji smiled. "To put it simply, I was investigating the Sunshine Girl case when she caught me. She wanted to join in, and then we saw something we shouldn't have. That's all there is to it. Sunshine Girl is just another team for Weather Maiden. Sunshine Girl is just an urban legend, isn't it? If it were completely baseless, I wouldn't be digging into it this hard. It's already connected to me," Renji replied. Hayasaka didn't respond. Her indifferent gaze drifted toward the bathroom. "Does this have something to do with Amano-san?" "Yeah. I see. You seem very concerned about her." "Yeah. I failed to protect her father 4 years ago, so I can't make the same mistake again. If I lose her too this time, I might never forgive myself. I understand. Hayasaka stood up and gently hugged Renji from behind. Go do what you need to. Make sure you protect them. Yeah. A smile appeared on Renji's face as he placed his hand over hers. Hayasaka rested her cheek against his back. Recalling Hina's expression earlier, she whispered, and don't pressure yourself too much. Just do your best. Click. The bathroom door opened. Amano Hina, dressed and wearing slippers, stepped out. She immediately saw Hayasaka hugging Renji from behind. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're not. Hayasaka said with a soft chuckle, releasing Renji. You probably still have something you want to say to him. Yeah. Surprised by her words, Hina smiled and nodded. Yeah, there's something I want to say. She walked up to Renji, who was seated at the dining table. Renji, could you come out for a walk with me? Huh? Renji glanced at her, then at the heavy rain outside. It was clearly not the kind of weather for a walk. Just go with her for a bit. Hayasaka said. You'll just need another shower when you get back. Alright. Since Hayasaka also encouraged it, and seeing Hina's determined expression, Renji agreed. The rain outside poured relentlessly. Hina walked ahead, struggling slightly with every step as she held the umbrella. Renji followed behind her. He still couldn't understand why she insisted on coming out in this weather. Sorry, Renji, for dragging you out for a walk in this storm. So it really is just a walk. If it's something serious, we could have talked at home. It's pouring out here. The storm barely affected Renji, but for a middle school girl like Hina, it was a different story. Even with an umbrella, she was getting drenched. She turned back and gave him a bright smile. It was like sunlight after the rain. But to Renji, it felt unsettling. Because Uncle Amano had worn that same smile before jumping off the roof. Renji, I'm really grateful you appeared when I needed you most. If Nagi can stay with you, I can rest easy. Hey, don't joke like that. Renji said with a smile. I'm taking care of both of you, not just one. Hina shook her head. Just Nagi is enough. As for me, you were right. I shouldn't keep using my power so often. Based on last year's satellite imagery, you've used it over 100 times, haven't you? Renji said. And even after all that, you were still living in poverty. That proves you never used it for yourself. Yeah. But just like you said, there's a price to using power that doesn't belong to me. As she spoke, she pulled open her collar. Renji's grip on the umbrella tightened. From her collarbone to her chest, her body was partially translucent, as if she could vanish at any moment. A year ago, when my mom got seriously ill, I gained this power. In that moment, I felt deeply connected to the sky. Hina said, gazing at the dark, cloudy sky, still smiling. I guess, in the end, I'll head there too. You won't. You won't go there, and I won't let anyone take you. Renji said with a smile. I haven't fulfilled my duty to protect you too. There's no way I'll just stand by and let you disappear. If I don't go, something terrible will happen. I know. Tokyo, and all of Japan, will be drowned in rain. Fields will become barren, ports unusable, and the situation will spiral out of control. Renji's gaze sharpened as he looked at her. But I don't care. I want to protect you. I have to protect you. No matter how much damage it causes, no matter how many lives are lost, I'll protect you. Haha. After a moment of silence, Hina suddenly laughed softly, covering her mouth. She let go of the umbrella. Rain slammed against her, but she didn't flinch. She walked step by step toward Renji. Stopping in front of him, she smiled. I always thought you were a quiet, dependable guy. I never imagined you could be this arrogant. That's who I really am. Renji replied with a smile. His eyes held a hint of reminiscence. Uncle Amano didn't trust me, and it led to tragedy. That's why I want you to believe in me this time. I don't want the same thing to happen again. Okay, I understand. Hina smiled, tiptoed up, and gently cupped his face in her hands. Then let's make a promise. Make sure to bring me back. I will. Bring me back, and bring the sunshine too. No matter how long it takes, I'll believe in you. I'll be waiting. Of course. Renji placed his hand over hers, locking in the promise. I'll make it happen. Thank you. Her smile was radiant. Wind howled, and rain whipped toward Renji. He stood still, holding the umbrella in one hand, his palm brushing the warmth left on his cheek. Before him, there was only falling rain. And a lone umbrella lying on the ground. Chapter 438, The eve of war. Rain continued to pour, lightning flashing within the heavy clouds. Renji returned home alone, not even using an umbrella. His golden hair was soaked, hanging down over his eyes. He opened the door. Hayasaka was still sitting in the living room, waiting for him. She didn't ask anything. She simply tossed a dry towel onto his head. Is it over? No. It's just beginning. Renji wiped his hair with the towel. From beneath the strands, his crimson pupils glowed faintly. Renji, you're back? Nagi came out of the guest room, looking around for his sister. Where is Hina? She's handling something, but she won't be gone long. Renji said with a smile. I'm going to bring her back. Without another word, he walked straight into his room. Hayasaka followed him, leaving Nagi standing alone, thoughtful. Is it dangerous this time? Not really. Renji, I'm someone who's very good at lying. That's why I know exactly what it looks like when someone else is lying. Hayasaka said with a soft laugh. You're terrible at it. Sharp as always. Do you have to go? Of course. Renji replied. Are you going to stop me? I won't stop you. I believe you can handle it. Thanks. With that, they said no more. Even though they had only just started dating, words weren't necessary between them anymore. Renji picked up a remote from his bedside and pressed a few buttons. Buzz. A seam opened in the wall beside him, which slowly slid apart. Behind it hung an array of weapons, from pistols to sniper rifles. Even anti-materiel gear like Stinger missiles. In the center of all the weaponry hung an ordinary-looking marker pen. After a brief pause, Renji grabbed the pen from the center and pressed the remote again, sealing the wall shut. Prepared and ready, Renji stepped out of his room and headed straight for the door. Renji, Nagi called out to him. You'll bring sis back, right? Of course. Really? Nagi seemed to sense something as well. Although he didn't ask further, the worry in his eyes was clear. Renji let go of the doorknob and crouched in front of Nagi, rubbing his head. Nagi, this might be a little early for you, but I'll tell you anyway. What matters most for a man isn't money or power, and it's not women either. It's responsibility. Renji said with a smile. In the end, men are creatures whose actions speak louder than words. The most important thing is to carry out your responsibility. With that, Renji stood up and opened the door. Outside, the rain was still pouring. Whether anyone believes it or not, I'll fulfill my duty. Only then can I be called a real man. Renji. Hayasaka suddenly stepped forward, turned Renji around, and kissed him on the lips as she stood on tiptoe. Nagi covered his mouth in shock at the sight. Even if he had high emotional intelligence, he was still just a grade schooler deep down. When their lips parted, Hayasaka stepped back, returning to her usual indifferent expression. Come back soon. Yeah. Breaking news, severe rainfall alert, temperature across the Tokyo area has dropped by around 10 degrees Celsius. Abnormal weather is expected to persist for a week. Air pressure over the Kanto region is expanding, many flights cancelled due to the weather. Repeating, atmospheric instability is extremely high. Unusual weather will continue for roughly 1 week, it's just as I feared. It was only drizzling this morning, and now it's suddenly turned into an abnormal storm. Weather forecasts are getting more useless every day. Yeah. Looks like it'll be hard to get home today. Prez, what about you? The trains are shutting down soon. Ishigami asked. My family's coming to pick me up. Want me to give you a ride too? You've been totally out of it since this morning, Prez. What's going on? It's nothing really. Shirogane slowly lifted his head from the desk, his heavy dark circles plainly visible. I've just been a bit exhausted lately. Ever since the culture festival ended, Kaguya had been acting strange. The once courteous and gentle Kaguya had turned back into the cold, distant ice Kaguya. Treating him just like she used to. Exactly like a year ago. The weird part was, no one in the student council noticed the change. As if she hadn't changed at all. Shirogane sighed deeply and pulled out his phone. I was going to call Renji, but with this weather, it's probably best not to bother him. Besides, I couldn't get through this morning anyway. Wonder what he's up to? Probably just at home. No one in their right mind would go out in weather like this. Right, Fujiwara-senpai? Fujiwara-senpai, you're acting weird too today. Ishigami looked curiously at Fujiwara. She had been standing by the window for a while, staring out at the thunder and downpour. Her worried expression was reflected faintly in the rain-speckled glass. She was gazing toward the northwest, where the thunderclouds and lightning were thickest. Renji-kun is out there. Huh? On the rooftop of the Yoyogi Hall, Renji stepped out. In front of him stood a torii gate as tall as 2 people. Overhead, thick, churning clouds spiraled like the eye of a tornado. Lightning slithered within them like serpents. Who would have thought, after spending half a year living a normal life at Shuchen, I'd be dragged into something so absurd just before Christmas? Talk about anticlimactic. Renji smiled and raised his hands. On each palm was a complex symbol, drawn with a marker, resembling a magic circle. Chapter 439, Alchemy. Did Renji have full confidence in defeating this unknown entity? Not at all. Though he looked unscathed after getting struck by lightning, he had actually taken serious damage. The burning smell Fujiwara noticed earlier came from some of his organs being carbonized by the extreme heat of the lightning strike. If the smoke hadn't hidden it, she would have seen something nightmarish. Behind the smoke, Renji's entire skin had been incinerated, some of his blood had evaporated, and his charred, cracked skin revealed his white bones underneath. It was a bolt of lightning that could heat the air to 5 times the surface temperature of the sun. Even though he diverted the current and blocked the pulse, the heat alone was something no normal person could withstand. This was the wrath of nature. Good thing my healing ability is a bit stronger than most. Otherwise, you'd have had me. Renji sneered as he walked toward the Torii Gate. In Shinto belief, the Torii is the gateway between the human and divine realms. Hina had prayed there to communicate with the sky using the fan door. So if he wanted to reach where Hina was, the entrance was likely through the Torii. Renji stepped down hard, cracking the rooftop floor, and shot forward like a cannonball through the Torii. Whoosh! As his body passed through, the scenery changed instantly. Gone was the skyline of Tokyo. In its place was a sea of clouds. Endless, white, and pristine. There was no rain here, only lightning rolling through the clouds. He was falling fast through the sky. The sky above was a deep blue, nearly black. Looking down, he saw the curved blue of the Earth's surface. The boundary between sky and land. He was so high up, he could see the Earth's curvature. His breath turned to ice crystals in the freezing air. As he descended, Renji saw a ribbon-like creature coiling through the sky, resembling a mythical dragon. It noticed him and lunged forward with its massive maw open. As it drew closer, Renji realized. It was a creature made of water, its body composed of countless fish-like forms. So I was right. As the creature tried to devour him, Renji thrust out his hand and grabbed its watery jaws. ZZ. Bright blue lightning exploded from the sky. The instant the creature touched Renji's hand, it evaporated into a cloud of steam. Alchemy. This was Renji's hidden ability. Rather than a power, it was more of a technique. Anyone with a sharp mind could learn it. It allowed control over decomposition and reconstruction of matter through cycles and transformation. Renji first used it in Japan during a blackjack game with the tabletop club. That strange ringed finger and the magic circle-like patterns on his palms. Those were the keys to triggering alchemy. He never thought this technique, once only for daily convenience, would end up used in combat. The creature's head had vanished. As the rest of its body followed, Renji touched it again. More lightning sparked, freezing the rest of the body into ice. Landing atop the ice block, Renji looked around as it descended. There, suspended in the sky, was a floating island. Covered in grass, surrounded by tiny fish formed from droplets, it was peaceful. And lying on the grass, eyes closed, was Hina. Hina. Hearing her name, Hina slowly opened her eyes. What she saw was Renji, standing atop a falling block of ice. Renji. Seeing she was awake, Renji didn't hesitate. He leaped from the ice and landed on the floating grass. Hina. I came to bring you home, just like I promised. He stepped in front of her and smiled, offering his hand. Yeah. She smiled and placed her small hand in his. All around them, the winds surged. The creature that had turned into steam began to reform and rushed toward them. Let's go home. Renji said with a smile. Whether it's sunny skies or your future, anything you need. I'll bring it to you. I believe you. And with that, Renji leapt from the floating island, hand in hand with Hina, falling back toward Earth. They plunged through thick clouds. The darkness grew. The air turned wet and heavy. Their clothes soaked through. The pitch-black clouds moved like living tissue, writhing slowly. Thunder flashed from within, each bolt shaking the air with deafening booms. If Renji's guess was right, this path through the Torii would return them to the real world safely. The night sky was dark. Rain still poured down. Feeling the rain on her cheeks, Hina opened her eyes again. She looked up at the dark sky, the clouds, and the water pouring down from above. She sat up and glanced around. This was the rooftop of Yoyogi Hall. The Torii Gate had been smashed to pieces. The Torii is a gateway between humans and the gods. Destroy it, and you'll never be able to connect with the sky again. Renji said, walking up behind her with a smile. Of course, you're no longer the sunshine girl, nor a sacrifice. I see. I've finally returned to Earth. Feeling the solid cement under her, breathing in the moisture-laden air, Hina looked up at the sky. I'm back. Yes. But now that I'm back, the weather. The weather doesn't matter compared to you. Renji said with a smile. Didn't I tell you? Whether it's sunshine or you, I'll bring them both back. With that, Rinji pulled a marker from his pocket. Though it's a bit tricky to pull off. I think my old man taught me this before. Boom. A bolt of lightning struck down right in front of Rinji. The lightning swirling in the clouds grew thicker, seemingly about to strike again. TCH, so it's not done yet? Rinji's gaze sharpened. If he got hit by multiple bolts of lightning, it wouldn't end well. Especially with Hina standing here. He quickly refocused, thinking seriously about how to deal with the creature in the sky. These beings with no physical form and only a conceptual existence were his biggest weakness. The thunder grew louder. The second bolt seemed imminent. Bring it on. He braced himself, prepared for a final battle with whatever this so-called god was. But the lightning never came. Instead, the thunder faded away. The clouds above started to disperse, as if a hole had been dug in the middle of the sky. The dark mass gradually spread apart. No more rain. Only sunlight shone down on the two of them. Bathed in the golden light, Rinji stared blankly at the sun in the sky. Rinji. You really did it. Hina's face lit up with joy at the sudden clear skies. No. It wasn't me. Rinji said, shaking his head. As if realizing something, he turned to Hina. Did you bring your phone? Yeah, I did. What time is it now? Right now. It's 8 p.m. Wait, huh? The moment she said it, Hina froze. She looked up at the sun hanging in the sky and felt the warmth on her skin, her eyes full of confusion. Why? Is the sun out at night? In a finely decorated restaurant, a band played elegant music. Tenbo Yumi looked out the window at the clear sky, frowning slightly. The weather's getting weirder and weirder. They said the storm would last a week, and now look at it. Across from her sat a man. He wore a black trench coat. His jet black hair was styled with a side part, covering his left eye. After taking a small bite of foie gras, he set down his utensils and dabbed the corner of his mouth with a napkin. Something wrong, Mr. Takuman? Not to your taste? Tenbo asked with a smile. Not at all. The man pulled a cigarette from his pocket and placed it between his lips. With a snap of his fingers, the cigarette lit itself. A subtle smile curled at his lips. Quite delicious. Chapter 440, Father, urgent news. The sun has appeared in the night sky over Tokyo. Investigations are ongoing into the cause. NASA has reported a star approximately 1 kilometer in diameter appeared 500,000 kilometers from Earth. It collapsed within 1 minute of detection, effects currently unknown. Citizens are advised not to panic. Hayasaka sat in Rinji's house watching the news on TV. Nearly every channel was broadcasting the strange phenomenon of a sun appearing at night. Except Tokyo. First the bizarre weather, and now a sun at night. Yeah, weird stuff's been happening a lot lately. Nagi nodded. Since Rinji left, he and Hayasaka had been waiting at home. Click. The door opened, and Rinji returned with Hina. On-chan. Seeing his sister, Nagi rushed over, overjoyed. Yeah, I'm home. Hina rubbed Nagi's head gently. She was just as happy to be back on solid ground again. This experience would be unforgettable for her. Rinji didn't waste time after returning. He picked up the landline in the bedroom and called the research department. Within minutes, someone arrived with his repaired mobile phone. After stepping onto the balcony to make a call, Rinji returned to the living room. Rinji, about what happened just now? Yeah, it's all settled. Rinji smiled. Though there was a bit of an incident, overall it ended pretty smoothly. Hina was no longer the sunshine girl, nor did she have to worry about being offered as a sacrifice. Now, all that remained was dealing with the identity paperwork for her and Nagi. I'm really glad it worked out. Hayasaka said with a relieved smile. Regardless of the outcome, she was just happy Rinji came back unharmed. Right. Oh, by the way, I should tell you something. What is it? My dad's coming over in a bit. Huh? My old man's dropping by soon. I know that. But Rinji, your father suddenly coming here, I should. Hayasaka, usually calm and composed, suddenly panicked. She had already met Rinji's mother, but not his father. And now, as Rinji's girlfriend, she was living in his home. Can I go home for now? Huh? Why? Because your father's coming. As his girlfriend, she would have to face him as part of the family now. What if he didn't like her? Hayasaka truly wanted to run. It's fine. You'll have to meet eventually. Better to get it over with now. Rinji said. Don't worry. Other than being a bit of an idiot, he's not so bad. But still. Knock knock knock. Rinji, sounds like he's here. Hayasaka. Too late to escape now. If she ran after the father arrived, she'd leave a terrible impression. With no other option, Hayasaka rushed into the kitchen to start preparing. Hina, curious, said, Rinji's father, huh? Come to think of it, this is my first time meeting your family too. One meeting is all you'll need to forget. Rinji muttered as he went to open the door. Standing there was a man in a black trench coat with black hair. His left eye was hidden beneath his bangs. The other eye landed on Rinji, and he smiled, extending a hand. Son, it's been a while. Did you miss your dear old dad? No. That quick answer really hurts your father's feelings. Please, be as hurt as you want. If you cry, even better. Rinji said with a grin. So cruel. Rinji's father chuckled as he stepped inside and put on a pair of slippers. Hina and Nagi looked at him curiously. In terms of looks, he was clearly from the same category as Rinji. Undeniably handsome. But while Rinji had an androgynous beauty, his father leaned more toward traditional masculinity. And despite being a father, he looked extremely young. Like a guy in his 20s. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. After a short pause, Hina and Nagi politely greeted him. Ah, hello to you too. The father replied warmly. You must be Amano Hina and Amano Nagi. My son mentioned you both on the phone. Yes. The siblings nodded. From his manner and tone, he seemed like a kind and easygoing uncle. Just unusually youthful. Dad, what are you doing in Japan all of a sudden? Rinji asked as they sat in the living room. Obviously, to see my adorable son. He said with a laugh. Oh, and the other day you asked me to meet that girl from your school. We're having dinner tonight. But don't ask me again for this sort of thing. You know your mom doesn't like me talking to young girls. That's why I stay home most of the time. Tumbo-senpai, right? Did she say anything after your dinner? She asked a few questions about the past. Oh, and invited me to stay overnight at a nearby inn. Very enthusiastic girl, but I already have a place to stay, so I declined. I don't think she invited you just to stay overnight. While the two were chatting, Hayasaka walked out from the kitchen. She placed a freshly brewed cup of black tea in front of Rinji's father. Though nervous, she forced herself to stay calm and said, Uncle, please enjoy the tea. Ah, thank you. Rinji's father gently sipped the tea after thanking her, then smiled and said, such a polite girl. Is she your friend? Her name is Hayasaka. Rinji said. She's my girlfriend. Hearing that, Rinji's father was slightly taken aback. He glanced at the blushing and slightly nervous Hayasaka, then at Rinji, who looked completely calm. Wasn't your girlfriend the one with black hair? You broke up already? No, we didn't break up. I added another one. Rinji's father put down the cup, his expression turning a bit complicated. Son, how should I put it? This might be the first time you've truly stumped your old man. Chapter 441, Your father is narrow-minded. Ah. I see. You got a second girlfriend without breaking up with the first. I get it now. Yes, I understand. If you really don't get it, don't force yourself. No, my brain's just a little scrambled. Rinji's father rubbed his head to calm down. So that means you currently have 2 girlfriends. Oh. After a moment of silent contemplation, Rinji's father finally accepted what his son had done. He turned to look at Hayasaka and observed her carefully. Under his scrutinizing gaze, Hayasaka felt her heart rise to her throat. She kept worrying about what would happen if he disliked her. Hayasaka knew that compared to Karura, she had no advantage. She wasn't bold or clingy like Karura, nor was she a noble young lady. She was just a maid, basically a servant. Rinji's family was clearly a prestigious one, and based on his hostile stance toward the Shinomiya family, there might even be a family feud. Would his father really want his son to be with a maid from a rival family? While Hayasaka was deep in worry, Rinji's father turned back to his son and smiled. You really are my son. Even our taste in women is similar. I also think Hi's kind of like Mom in some ways. Right. Rinji's father chuckled, then turned to Hayasaka. Miss Hayasaka, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Ah, please go ahead. Hayasaka replied softly. She was fully alert, mentally preparing answers for every question Rinji's father might throw at her. Your family. Hayasaka stiffened. She had expected a question about her background. It wasn't easy to answer. Lying was out of the question. He'd definitely see through it. But if she told the truth and he wasn't satisfied. As she wavered, Rinji's father's gaze grew more serious. In your family. Is there anyone with violent tendencies? Huh? Like, anyone in your household with a temper who hits people over nothing? What kind of question was that? Although she didn't know why he was asking, Hayasaka still answered honestly, no, it's just me and my mom. She's very gentle. Good. Hearing her answer, Rinji's father let out a sigh of relief. He turned to Rinji and said, your first girlfriend, Karura Cure, right? Actually, I went to the Cure clan residence in Kyoto on the second day I arrived in Japan. Oh? What for? To talk about you two. Rinji's father said. I met their clan leader, your girlfriend's great-grandfather. I told him, hey, old man, looks like we're in-laws now. He didn't say a word, just pulled out a sword and swung it at me. So it was Kyoryo. Yeah, that old man. Rinji, as the stupid great-grandson, had certainly experienced what Kyoryo was like. Luckily, your old man has quick reflexes and slipped out the back door. But that geezer still chased me down 3 streets. That's when I started wondering if your taste in women was just too questionable. I was looking for a girlfriend, not caring about her family. Rinji said. Think a little more comprehensively. But honestly, when I heard you got a girlfriend, I didn't sleep well for 2 days. Why? Because I was excited. Your mother and I had already resigned ourselves to the idea that our dumb son would probably die alone. Finding out that our family pig finally figured out how to root for cabbage. Only a father could understand that joy. Old man, you really think I won't hit you? Whoa there, calm down. I'm getting old. I can't take a beating anymore. Even though he didn't look much older than Rinji. Uncle, it's not like that. Hayasaka didn't know where her courage came from, but she spoke up. I believe Rinji is far more outstanding than you think. His strengths are just hard to notice at first, but once you see them, many girls would fall for him. Seeing Rinji's father's surprised expression, Hayasaka realized she'd been too forward. She quickly covered her mouth, blushing. That's just my personal opinion. Rinji's father stood up and walked over to Hayasaka. Seeing this, she instinctively took a step back, but he grabbed her hand with a straight face. What a good child. His expression was deeply moved, almost in tears. It's amazing that you found something good in that brat. That's like digging for gold in a pile of crap. Rinji, I'm seriously about to hit someone. Hayasaka and the Amano siblings chatted in the living room while Rinji and his father stepped out to the balcony. Outside the balcony, the night sky was full of stars. No clouds, no lightning. Everything was peaceful. Rinji pulled a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, lit one, and handed the pack to his father. Mom never lets us smoke at home. Since she's not here, we can relax a bit. True. His father took one with a grin, put it in his mouth, and snapped his fingers. The cigarettes in both their mouths lit up instantly. Blowing a smoke ring, his father said, that Hayasaka girl. Your mother showed me a photo of her after she came back from the sports festival. Said she seemed like a good kid. Now that I've met her, I agree. And that Karura girl's not bad either. But seriously, she confessed to you? Just how messed up was she? I'm gonna hit you. Your luck with women seems to be improving. So this is the area where I've surpassed you? Rinji said, grinning. Yeah, your old man didn't have this kind of luck at your age. Don't lie. Didn't we have a bunch of aunties visiting back then? They all liked you when you were younger and still want to steal you from mom. You really didn't notice? At my age, it's hard not to notice. Then why didn't you respond to them? You want me to have multiple girlfriends like you? Give me a break. His father chuckled, leaning against the balcony railing, exhaling smoke. Your old man's narrow-minded. My heart only has room for your mother. Chapter 442, This is your story. This really is the way to do it. No doubt about it. Rinji and his father sat on the balcony, staring seriously at the grill in front of them. Several cans of beer sat on the newly set wooden table. Late-night barbecue is always the best. Can't do outdoor grilling like before, but this balcony setup works fine. This time, his father had brought some vegetables from their farm, perfect for grilling with the frozen meat in the fridge. Watching the oil sizzle on the grill, Rinji opened a can of beer, took a sip, and asked, by the way, old man, you dealt with that ghost thing today, right? Yeah. Saw that creature messing around in the sky while I was eating, so I took care of it. He put grilled chicken wings and lamb skewers on Renji's plate. That thing. Is it a god? From what I've seen, no. His father said while sprinkling seasoning. If something's competing on the same level as humans, then it's already fallen from being a god. Even if it once was, it's degrading itself. Oh. Will it affect the weather here? No. Rainfall might drop a bit over the next few months, but nothing serious. As he spoke, he reached into his pocket and tossed a glowing crimson gem in front of Rinji. That creature's sealed in here now. I don't need it, so it's yours. Alright. Rinji recognized what it was with one look and pocketed the gem. How long are you staying in Japan? Just a few days. Treating it like a vacation. I'll head back home soon. Got a place to stay? Hotel near your place. I'm not staying here with you and your girlfriend. I remember you used to have property here. Sold it after going back home. Donated all the money. Right now, my only property in Japan is a family farm. Oh. Then how does our family have so much money? Who knows? Every month a few $100 million mysteriously appear in my account. Then why did you only give me $100 million when I left home at 12? That was to train your ability to endure hardship. Rinji's father replied as if it were natural. Back in my day, your old man started from scratch. Yeah, with $5 million to start from scratch. Oh come on, $5 million is barely money. Fair enough. Maybe it was because they hadn't seen each other for a long time, but the father and son talked for quite a while. They ended up eating several plates of skewers from midnight all the way to morning. As the sky began to brighten, they finally finished. After cleaning up the tools, Rinji planned to head back to his room to get ready for school, and his father was preparing to leave. Come home for New Year, okay? I probably won't come visit you again anytime soon. Why? Aren't you basically free these days? Rinji's father put on his coat, walked over, and ruffled his hair. Because the author wants to decrease my screen time to make it more mysterious. And, this is your story? Huh? Anyway, that's all. I'm heading out now. Keep in touch by phone. With that, he put on his shoes and left. Rinji returned to his room. At the same time, Hayasaka had just woken up and stepped out. Working under the Shinomiya family had made her a habitual early riser. Seeing that Rinji's father was heading out, she quickly rushed to the entrance and put on her shoes. Uncle, are you leaving already? Yeah. Then let me walk you there. Ah, thank you. Rinji's father smiled. The hotel wasn't far from Rinji's place. Just a couple blocks away. When they reached the entrance, Rinji's father turned and smiled at Hayasaka. Thanks a lot. Really, you didn't have to walk me all the way here. Just to the apartment building would have been fine. Don't you still have school? It's okay. There's still plenty of time before classes start. You're such a good kid. Rinji's father had a nostalgic look on his face. Sometimes I wonder if that kid's personality is a little too much like mine. Isn't being like one's father a good thing? If I were an exceptional person, then sure. The thing is, his strengths are like mine. But so are his flaws. When he was young, I always hoped he wouldn't follow the same path as our generation. But in the end, he still chose the same road I once walked. Unlike me, who had no choice, he made every decision on his own. He paused, then laughed. To be honest, I think you're pretty great. Maybe with you by his side, he'll actually walk a different path from mine. Thank you. Blushing slightly, Hayasaka expressed her gratitude for his praise. Sagra, I heard the boss is in Japan right now. That info came from George. Have you confirmed it? At East Western Pacific headquarters, in one of the building's conference rooms, the usual group of elders had gathered. Shuk said. Come on, you wouldn't all show up if this were about anything else. Normally, even huge international events wouldn't move these old-timers from their homes. But when it came to Rinji or his father, they always showed up in droves. You're right. He's in Japan. Shuk said. And it just so happens I'll be heading there soon too. I'm coming. Me too. No one's going. Shuk immediately shut them down. Why not? Because I'm going to Japan on an errand from Rinji. Shuk explained. There's a pair of siblings that need adopting. He didn't trust anyone else, so he asked me directly. Since I'm already in Japan, I figured I'd handle the paperwork. You could have handled that from here. Yeah, we could adopt the kids ourselves. Alright then. Raise your hand if you can adopt children. Whoosh. Every elder in the conference room raised their hands. Alright. According to Japan's child welfare regulations, adoptive parents must be a married couple. Kids can't be adopted into a single-parent household. Shuk continued. If you're not married, put your hand down. One by one, the hands dropped reluctantly. Until only 2 people had their hands raised. If no one in your family resides in Japan long-term, put your hand down too. Shit. Sagra, are you screwing with us? So you're the only one qualified? Shuk, unfortunately, yes. Chapter 443, Time to Bully begins. Shuk should arrive in Japan in about 3 days. His upper management has already talked to the relevant Japanese authorities. So you don't have to worry. No one's going to take the Amano siblings to an orphanage anytime soon. Thanks. No problem. It's just adopting 2 kids, after all. Rinji. Now speaking with a grin. Glanced aside. Looking after them seems a lot easier than looking after you. I'm still an independent person. Sure, but your head's always filled with dangerous thoughts. You really are just like your old man. She sighed, recalling her own high school days. By the way, I heard your father's in Japan? Yeah, he's staying near our apartment building. Haven't seen him in a while. Once Shuk arrives, let's have a hot pot together. Sounds good. Well, that's settled then. Sigh, never thought I'd end up being a mom. Guess I've hit that age. Aunt Kanna, you look so young no one would believe you're old enough to be a mom. Hearing that, she smiled and patted Renji's head. I've known you for so long. Even though I've never seen you act like a real person, at least now you're speaking like one. Seems like you've grown. Your words of comfort are really something else, Aunt Kanna. Now that everything was settled, Renji decided to head back to the student council. He hadn't been to school in 2 days. Although classes weren't too intense, his laid-back attitude had become somewhat legendary at school. President, did you see the news last night? The sun suddenly came out at night. Yeah. Also, tomorrow's Christmas. Tsubame-senpai invited me to her house. President, come on, at least react a little. Give me any kind of expression so I can feel relieved. Ishigami looked worriedly at Shirogane, who was slumped over his desk in low spirits. Ah. I'm fine. No, you don't look fine at all. As Ishigami watched with concern, Shirogane slowly sat up and rubbed the back of his head. Lately, Kaguya's sudden change in attitude had left him emotionally exhausted. What made it worse was that her attitude hadn't changed toward anyone else. Only toward him. That's what hurt the most. Normally, in situations like this, he would turn to Renji for help. But coincidentally, Renji had been busy these past 2 days dealing with the Amano siblings. His phone had been unreachable, and Shirogane couldn't even find someone to talk to. Which was how he ended up like this today. Ishigami. Can you reach Renji? I tried calling a few times, and I messaged him online too. He only replied last night, said he finally wrapped things up. I see. But I can't keep bothering him either. Knock knock knock. The student council door was knocked. Ishigami blinked and went to open it. Standing outside was a girl with twin ponytails. Ah, it's Shijo-senpai. Yeah. Shijo Maki had met Renji several times before, and she was familiar with the student council members too. Being in the same class as Shirogane meant they often ran into each other. She plopped down on the couch like she owned the place, crossed her legs, and declared proudly, T.A. Ishigami, clearly used to her attitude, obediently went to brew tea. Shirogane looked up, his eyes dark with fatigue. What's with the death face, Shirogane? No, it's nothing. He tried to perk up. So, what brings you here? What else would I be here for? Shijo gave him a sly look. Oh. Then. Obviously. Love troubles. She said, suddenly pouting. That was unexpectedly cute. Ishigami placed the tea in front of Shijo and sat beside Shirogane. So, what's the issue? You guys. Do you think friendship is actually something painful? Shirogane and Ishigami were momentarily at a loss for words. The person who's with Tsubasa now is my best friend. Our friendship is irreplaceable. Shijo said slowly. But it ended up being her with Tsubasa. I don't really get what you're saying. Ishigami, who had zero romantic experience, was completely confused. Then let me put it in a way you can understand. Shijo continued. What if the person you liked ended up falling for your best friend? Can you imagine how that would feel? Ishigami and Shirogane. The two of them couldn't help but start imagining it. After a few seconds of thought, Shirogane's face darkened even further. Ah. If Shinomiya suddenly fell for Renji, that would be a total disaster. In his imagination. Sorry, President. You're just too useless. We really aren't suited for each other. Wait, Shinomiya. Kaguya stood in front of him, cold as ice. After throwing down that emotionless line, she turned and fell into Takam and Renji's arms. Renji-kun really is the better man. President, I'll take good care of Shinomiya. Imagination ends. Ugh. Already under a lot of mental stress, Shirogane clutched his stomach and collapsed to the floor. Hey, Shirogane. What's wrong with you all of a sudden? Shijo grew anxious seeing Shirogane fall. Ahaha. Well, considering how amazing Renji is, it's not entirely impossible. Ahaha. Don't scare me like that. It wasn't just Shirogane. Ishigami started imagining things too. If Renji and Senpai ended up together then. Shijo looked at them. After their imaginations ran wild, Shirogane and Ishigami showed completely different expressions. Shirogane looked like he was on the verge of a breakdown. As for Ishigami, forget his expression. His whole facial structure looked sharper. Ishigami said, well, if my bro stole my girlfriend, that's clearly on him, right? Well. Obviously. Then as compensation, shouldn't he become my girlfriend? What kind of messed up logic is that? Click. Just as Shijo was wondering how to take responsibility for the chaos she caused, Renji happened to walk in. Oh, it's the useless Shijo again. Who are you calling useless? Chapter 444, something like that would never happen. So you're here again, Shijo-san. Looks like you've got another issue you want to consult the student council about. Rinji was straightforward. He'd seen this girl plenty of times already, so he just sat down next to Ishigami and asked the question directly. So, what exactly is the problem? Ishigami whispered into Rinji's ear, same as always. Relationship stuff. Relationship stuff? Yeah. Kashigawa and Tanuma? Exactly. Give me a second. Rinji stood up from the couch and walked over to a nearby cabinet. As everyone watched in confusion, he pulled out 2 bags of chips and a bottle of cola. After sitting back down, he opened one bag, popped a few chips into his mouth, and said, "All right, go ahead. You're just here to watch the drama? Come on, Shijo-san. Let out your troubles so I can enjoy them. You're just trying to piss me off." Shijo felt like her lungs were about to burst from anger. "Every time you come here, you find new ways to bring up the same issue. I think that's pretty impressive. You jerk." Seeing Shijo gritting her teeth, Rinji just smiled and kept eating. This time, Shijo came to ask a more serious question. Shirogane suddenly said. She said. "What if the person you like ends up with your best friend? Or something like that? That topic, huh? Let me think." Rinji put down the chips and quietly pondered. It didn't take long for him to give up thinking. "I don't think something like that would ever happen." "Huh? You're that sure? Whether it's the person I like or my friends, I trust them. So I don't think that kind of thing is even possible." Hearing that, the 2 others immediately lowered their heads. In that moment, they couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Shirogane and Ishigami had indeed worried about the possibility of Kaguya, or Koyasu-senpai, ending up with Rinji. But it turned out Rinji trusted them so completely. Honestly, if you really want to avoid that kind of situation, just be clear from the beginning. Rinji said. Like, when you're chatting with your friend, casually drop the name of the person you like. If they're a real friend, they won't go after that person. It's a simple thing to do, right? PFFT. Shijo felt like an arrow had struck her in the chest. If you don't say anything, how is anyone supposed to know? And if a friend brings up your crush during a chat and you stubbornly deny it with stuff like "Huck, only an idiot would like that kind of person," then it's your own fault how things turn out. PFFT. Another arrow to the chest. If you don't express your feelings, the other person won't notice you. And if you don't close off the possibility for your friend to fall for them too, who can you blame for the tragedy? If you never tell anyone who you like, and when you're all heartbroken they suddenly say, "We're getting married tomorrow, thanks for helping us get together," then. Ishigami, get her some tissues. On it. Sitting across from the 3 of them, Shijo now had tears streaming down her face, looking incredibly wronged. As he handed her the tissues, Rinji continued, "All I'm saying is, sometimes being a little more honest helps. If you don't share intel with your allies, friendly fire is bound to happen. It's just like the FBI and CIA always messing each other up because they won't talk. Ugh. Seeing you about to cry puts my mind at ease." Yep, that's the Shijo I know. Rinji smiled. "Rinji, you really don't hold back when you talk, huh? Just calling it like I see it. You've been gone the past few days, and there's something I've really wanted to ask you." Shirogane looked around. Ishigami had gone out to buy something. Right now, it was just Rinji and Shirogane in the student council office. With no one else around, Shirogane could finally speak his mind freely. "You've noticed how Shinomiya's been acting lately, right?" "Yeah, it's like her personality totally changed." "Well, not totally. She was like this a year ago too. I just don't get why she suddenly shifted again." Shirogane's voice even trembled as he spoke. "She's still normal with everyone else, but just cold toward me. Did I do something to upset her? Maybe it's a hormone imbalance lately? Can't you give a serious answer for once?" Shirogane sighed. His concern was obvious. "I was thinking. Maybe her family already arranged a fiancé for her? That's why she's been acting differently lately?" "Huh? It's a big family thing. Eldest sons inherit, daughters marry to form alliances. You're from a big family, right, Rinji? You'd know about this stuff." "Not at all. I'm not from a big family," Rinji replied. "President, there's nothing to worry about. There's no way the Shinomiya family would assign a fiancé to Shinomiya." "Why not?" "Because I'm in charge of everything between you and Shinomiya. If the Shinomiya family ever made such a buzzkill move, then..." Rinji made a slicing motion across his neck. "That so-called fiancé might end up moving to Africa. Along with all their family assets. That's terrifying." Even though he thought Rinji was kind of reckless, hearing that still helped Shirogane feel better. He wasn't going to be swayed by what Shijo Maki said earlier either. There was no doubt Rinji was his best friend. And he'd been doing everything he could to help Shirogane and Shinomiya get together. So what happened to Shijo was never going to happen to him. Click. The office door opened, and Kaguya stepped in. She also noticed the two people sitting on the couch. Oh, Rinji-kun, you're back at school? Yeah. Shinomiya. Kaguya greeted Rinji, while Shirogane also tried to greet her but was completely ignored. She paid no attention to Shirogane and walked straight over to Rinji. Rinji-kun, can I talk to you for a moment? Huh? I have something important to tell you. Can't we talk here? No, I'd like to speak with you alone. Kaguya said with a smile. Sitting off to the side, Shirogane's mouth gradually fell open. Chapter 445, If only we could switch places. This is bad. This is so bad. What happened, President? You look worse than before. Ishigami returned to the student council room with 2 drinks, only to find Shirogane with his head in his hands, looking even more depressed than before. It's over. So what exactly happened? Shinomiya. She invited Rinji out alone. And? Ishigami couldn't really understand what Shirogane was so worked up about. Even as an observer, Ishigami could pick up on some of the tension between Shirogane and Kaguya, but it was just an invitation outside, wasn't it? Shirogane clearly didn't want their issues to be known by others, so he didn't respond to Ishigami's question. Perhaps sensing his worry, Ishigami chuckled and said, Rinji and Shinomiya-senpai don't get along that well. Let's just hope they don't end up arguing. Why yeah, that's exactly what I'm worried about. Shirogane said, trying to calm down. From their usual interactions, it was clear Rinji and Kaguya didn't exactly have the best relationship. Certainly not bad, but not especially good either. And Rinji had a knack for making Kaguya angry. They really didn't seem like a pair that would get together. Still, the worry lingered. What Shijo said earlier had left a strong impression on him. So, what did you want to talk about? You even brought me somewhere like this. The rooftop was usually deserted. After bringing Rinji out, Kaguya led him up here. I want to ask you something about the president. Since it's about him, I guess it makes sense not to ask in front of him. Rinji said with a smirk. As expected of the old Shinomiya. Completely numb to others' feelings. I couldn't even manage to ignore the people around me the way you can. Kaguya's dominant personality at this moment was the cold and distant ice Kaguya, molded by the Shinomiya family. Though she surely didn't appreciate the biting sarcasm, she didn't let it show. Fine. What do you want to ask? Depending on the question, I might give you something. Thanks. I'm only asking because I trust you, Rinji-kun. Please don't tell anyone what we talk about. Alright. What do you think? Kaguya's usually cold expression flushed slightly. I should do to make the president take the initiative? Huh? I mean, how do I get him to take the initiative to confess to me? Wait, didn't anything happen on the final night of the Hoshin festival? He did show me something very romantic, but he still didn't confess. In the end, it was she, Kaguya, who kissed him first. Every time she remembered her impulsive and irrational behavior that night, she wanted to strangle her past self. I think since things already worked out, you should focus on deepening the relationship. Why rewind to where you were before? I just wanted to experience a normal kind of love. Kaguya muttered. TCH. Aren't you picky? Speaking of which, I haven't asked yet. How did things happen between you and Hayasaka? Kaguya asked suddenly. During the Hoshin festival, I lit some fireworks. Hayasaka took that opportunity to confess. I said yes, and then we kissed. That's all. Even you took the lead. Why is the president so stubborn? People are different. Rinji shrugged. Things between me and Hayasaka were complicated, but in the end, it was just a normal confession and a normal kiss. No dramatic love story or anything. These things should just happen naturally. Why obsess over formality? All those rituals people do are just averages based on others' relationships. As long as it works out, who cares? Sometimes I really envy you, Rinji-kun. Kaguya smiled bitterly. Even though you were born into a powerful family, nothing ever seems to tie you down. You do whatever you want without hesitation. Sometimes I wish I could become you. You can't become me. Like I said, people are different. Rinji replied. Back then, what did you treat the people around you as? Tools? Allies to win over? Bargaining chips? Or something else? I'm not like that. Whether they're nobles or commoners, I don't care. I've never once cared about their opinions, their feelings, or even their lives. Can you say the same? Of course not. Exactly. And while you envy me, I envy you guys too. Sometimes I wish I could just be a normal person. But then again, if I were, I wouldn't be able to deal with annoying problems my own way. After a pause, Rinji grinned. To put it simply, even if we switched places, I could never be like you, And you could never be like me. If one day we really could switch places, that might be nice. Kaguya said with a soft laugh. Forget it. I don't want to end up wearing a girl's uniform to school. Knock knock knock. Come in. It's not locked. Sorry to intrude. Saigarasu had just landed at Narita Airport and rushed straight to a hotel in the Minato district. He knocked on one of the room doors. After hearing a response from inside, he straightened up and entered. Though he was now the president of EU and one of the most powerful men in the world, standing in front of the man inside still made him act with respect. Long time no see, instructor. Ah, Shuk. Rinji's father smiled gently and closed the book he was reading. It's rare to see you in Japan, sir. Did something happen that needed your personal attention? Not really. My kid had a classmate who wanted to meet me, so I stopped by. A classmate? Someone wanted to meet you? Shuk was stunned. Weren't all your records erased by the world governments last century? How could anyone in this generation recognize you? Well, I visited her family shrine 2 years ago. That's how we met. 2 years ago. You were in Japan back then? Yeah. In fact, you were part of that incident too, weren't you? The meteor that fell in Hida, Gaifu.